What's up, everybody? How's it going? I am live streaming right now. I'm just doing some live streams. I'll be right back for a moment. I just need to do something. Welcome to the Halloween stream. Yeah. So, I'm going to go ahead and start this show. See what happens. Because tonight, it's going to be an interesting night. So, I'm going to be trying to do some stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to try to attempt to make a show, and hopefully that show works. I don't know if the upload speeds are going to be great, considering that streaming isn't really that easy. And I'm doing this at a low quality speed here. I'm not expecting a lot, so I'm just doing this for fun. Right now I'm just doing this live stream, and I'm going to be using a Discord server, which I hope a friend of mine doesn't mind me using. So I'm going to go ahead and let him do his thing and talk about the issues that he's concerned about as soon as he gets on. There's a lot of stuff this evening I would talk about, but right now it's up to the public, and if they want to come in, I'll link them the Discord server so they can come in and talk about some shit. And it doesn't matter what it is, it's just BS. As much as I hate to say this, there's a lot of talk going on about what is going on with YouTube. And there's been a lot of drama, there's been a lot of issues, there's been a lot of problems, and there's been a lot of things that have been happening. Apparently, there is PewDiePie versus T-Series, which is a lot of people are talking about, which I'm looking at the live streams right now, and it's ridiculous how people are doing this. Like, no joke. Let me show you the whole thing. Like, the numbers on this live stream are ridiculous. Now, you can see right here, you know, T-Series is basically, for those who don't know what T-Series is, I'll show you what T-Series is. It's like they're a company from India that does a lot of music, and it's a very popular YouTube channel that's been around, and it's trying to surpass PewDiePie in this biggest competition ever. And it's from the Super Cassettes Industry Private Limited, doing business as T-Series, is an Indian music record label, film production company founded by Gulshan Kumar in 1983. Now, it actually is making a lot of money. It's been founded for a long time, and it's kind of funny how this business is trying to become very popular in an instant, because it actually is. And you can see this YouTube series, it has nothing but Indian music videos. That's all it has, as you can see. This is what they have on their YouTube channel, and I'm not going to try to, you know, belittle them or anything like that, but they do get a lot of views in considering that they are popular. But as you can see right here, they're trying to surpass PewDiePie in a competition, and it's so ridiculously funny, because this is the most funniest situation I ever seen, with PewDiePie getting a lot of subscribers and losing subscribers. It's so ridiculous that this is becoming one of those situations where a lot of subscribers are unsubscribing, then subscribing, and it's sort of a big weird wheel competition right now. And T-Series right now is beating them in the competition, and it's so ridiculously funny, because it's becoming one of those popular YouTube channels right now. Not because of the fact it attracts a lot of people watching these music videos from India. And you can see right here the viewership is like 48 million, 58 million, 1.5 million. It goes on and on, because they had like the hugest viewership from India. Go figure, right? And this is the funny thing about this, is that they're trying, it goes up and down every time. It's like Most people are subscribing, most people are not subscribing, and it's kind of like the numbers are going up on this whole thing. And it's just sort of ridiculous how this situation goes. I barely don't understand what's going on, other than the fact that a lot of YouTubers haven't talked about this, surprisingly, and it was really obvious. Now, that whole situation just kind of escalated into a funny meme in a way. But other than that, it's not as bad as you think. It's just that that's the way it is right now. Because right now, T-Series is trying to grab is trying to compete against PewDiePie in the highest realm of possibility to become the biggest YouTube conglomerate ever. Now, those are the kids coming in trying to get candy. Well, don't worry. Some people will give them candy. Now, I guess I better go ahead and talk about this because this is going to be fun. Because a lot of people are upset about what happened to Gab. Gab, I actually read the apology letter that Gab made. And it was archived. And they took that thing off. And they kind of said some things that was an apology about what happened. Because they did try to talk to the FBI. They did try to, you know. But it seems that the narrative is that they were bullies. And it kind of got to the point that Gab was took it off. I don't know why, but then again, you know, Reddit's been that crazy. But as far as I know, this is what's going on. And it's kind of crazy that a lot of people are talking about this whole thing. Alright. Let's see here. Gamergate. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. Budget clearly learning the video game sites, and one angry gamer, as an example, is trying to pretend that they're after consumer rights, but then they're clearly using this as an excuse to insult the mean developers who are putting inclusion in their games. Or has anyone noticed this kind of treat? What the hell is gamer rights? Literally, what Gamergate is founded on? Yes, means technically that they are consumers. They hate those things. It doesn't mean they're a reasonable company that should ever listen to them. And there's a lot of things that Reset Era feels about this. Let's see. Let's see if I could find something interesting. Let's see if I can find something that could be... Now I'm going to go ahead and read something from an article that's been popping up, and a lot of people talk about this. Okay, reactions to Red Dead Redemption 2 rating shows a dark side to game reviews. Aisha Hassan. There's one review in record-breaking video games, Red Dead Redemption RD2, stands out on Metacritic, the entertaining review aggregating site. Slant Magazine, 3 out of 5, 5 out of stars review, which translates to a critic score of 70 on Metacritic, is only rating that is highlighted in the yellow see green near perfect score of the site. The reviewer, freelance journalist Steve Scalfly, received violent threats for his critique. as common online forums, yeah, this is not the first time this happens with common, fans that attack critics. It does happen a lot. As common in online forums, 673 comments at the time of writing under the Scoffy article. Okay, the social media posts mentioned his review ranged from encouraging to outright menacing to kill yourself. One commentator wrote, some of the issues in Scarpy's pointed out in his review, such as the clunky game controls, that's fair. The gloss over of topics like race and politics, which no one really cares about, or mentioned in the public publications, but reactions to pieces like Slant Magazine seem especially intense, also reflected how controversial game reviews can be as a whole. There's no doubt that RV2, which is a game about robbing and fighting your way through the U.S. Old West to survive, has been widely successful. The game generated $725 million in revenue its opening weekend. Most in entertaining history has received mostly rare reviews, but the debate around Scoffy's article isn't necessarily about the game itself, but a lot of the criticism accuses him and Slant Magazine of having political agenda, deflating and rating to increase traffic to Slant's website. Some tweeted that Slant Magazine regularly gives ratings with a stray from the status quo. In addition to the backlash on Twitter and the article on Slant itself, Scoffy told Quartz that some people have attacked him on his personal accounts, including threats sent to... Wow, that's really crazy. Scoffy acknowledged, however, that he had some positive feedback, and as a yeah, he's an NPC. Go figure. He says this as a that's confirmed. He's an NPC because they keep saying that sentence as a. I do think I've been spared a lot of targeted gender motivated harassment and that cropped up video game community. God. This guy is a soulless carcass. And judging by the discussions online, the gaming community also divided on whether Slant Magazine's review warrants such a aggressive response. To many users in comment sections came to Scoffy's defense, pointed out the commentators threatening violence would only project negative view of video game players, which is true. I do agree with that point in that argument. When one user commented on this, would be easy to find, Scoffy lived it in several other emphases how problematic it was. People like you who they get the point at, they say, okay, people like you are who they get to the point at and say, look how toxic all of you are. One user named 17 wrote in response, this is the same line of arguments that also highlighted in video games forum reset era in a thread title in response to Slant's review of Red Dead represents everything wrong with gaming. Most hated reactions to Scoffy's reviews certainly don't represent the entirety of gamers and gaming culture, but they do bring into mind that some of the darkest moments like Gamergate in 2014, who feels that a lifetime ago, the internet years, some gamers claimed that reviewers weren't covering games fairly and were influenced by feminist radical agendas, eventually turned into a blatant sexism and physicality threats of mainly female game developers and journalists, which hard to say whatever evidence happened. Gamergate supporters adopted the acronym SJW, meaning social justice warriors, an insult to liberals and progressives, arguing that the political intrusion detracted from point by playing video games. This sentiment echoed in response to Scoffy's review. In the comment section at Polygon, while reaction to Slant Magazine don't seem to be serious as the original Gamergate, the FBI was involved in investigating the threats, and the terms of initiative can be found considerably throughout the negative comments in Scoffy's review, which regularly focuses on the discussions and perceived political leanings rather than the game itself. One user called Blank 18533 wrote, there we have it, a snowflake liberal review. Keep your SJW crap out of the review next time. Also, it appeared on Twitter. But also, users speculate that the Gamergate-like reactions were exaggerated by Slant Magazine comparatively low score for the game. Rather than just review it itself, the commentator named Lipdog wrote, "Seriously, if you read the review, it didn't see a score. There would be about 10 to 20 fairly mundane comments here. Not 600 hateful bile, but also not unusual to push back reviews to come from those who hasn't been necessarily played in the game yet." Scaffy said, "It's likely because some believe the game's merit is higher score because..." Oh, that's... No. Now, a lot of people think the game is fun. Yes, the game isn't easy. No, it isn't really all that great. A lot of people need to understand that the game itself is a wild, wild west. And back then, in history, the human conditions in the wild, wild west were never that great. There were people shooting at each other, people killing each other, people trying to survive, people trying to feed their families, doing hard work, hard labor. This is the type of stuff that's been going on for centuries. And this guy kind of just talked about, oh, this game is racist, blah, 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 and all that other stuff. Look, you can't really blame, because that was back then. I understand that people living in 2018 don't get that. I understand that you don't like the archaic words that people use, but that's what they used back then. You can't really judge the game just because of the fact that you think your review matters to everyone, just because you say, oh, this game is misogynist, this game is this game is that. But they use those archaic words to explain in a story because those words were used. When you use words because it seems that some people lack the awareness of what it is that they're saying when they try to communicate the issue. And that's the biggest problem with me too, is that I have this problem, but I can't seem to, address the issue correctly. When I try to explain, sometimes, it's not as easy as to address the issue about a video game, especially Red Dead Redemption, because you have to understand, these words were used back then. Do you think that using those words that you have now are going to change everything in the near future? No. It's not going to do anything other than the fact that you expect everyone to use the word gender, use the word... because you think it's going to be a cool way to express, how people should communicate the word. But that's the biggest problem with a lot of these reviewers, because they don't know that there is a lot of people that are from the 90s that still use the same old words from the 90s, like, okay, cool, man, whatever. But to see this type of stuff happen to a guy who basically says it does kind of dig into the whole issue about why he wrote this article, to point out the issue about a video game, saying that this game has a lot of issues. And he doesn't like those issues. That's fine. The fact that he says that the game controls were clunky, that's fair. That's a good review. But bringing up things that are like from the old days of old and claiming that this is a problem in the game because it's a mature rated game, how are you going to address that issue when they already made when this game is mature rated and it shouldn't be played by children, and you're advocating that this game has these problems that I don't like? Therefore, you should try to say, hey, this game is not for children. This game, I don't feel that this is mature rated. And yet this has already been established by a lot of gaming companies and the government. reportedly worked at 100 hours, and yet. All right, sorry, I'm eating candy right now. But here's the thing about this issue. There are people like the game's merits higher score. That comment is stupid. It has nothing to do with the merit of the game. A lot of people liked Red Dead Redemption 1 for one reason. And I'll tell you why. Because it sold pretty well for itself, even though it didn't. Because originally, the funny thing about it, Red Dead Redemption became a cult success. Not really a big success in a way, because I know that Nintendo brought out Mario Galaxy at the same time, and it sold like 1 million copies in one. And Red Dead Redemption sold about 500 copies on a system. And this is what surprised me about this whole thing, is that they did this, and I thought it was kind of interesting though. In the contrast of Slate Magazine's Yellow 70 on Metacritic against those other green scores, more than half of which were perfect scores, also makes it especially contrary. Thresholds of yellow-green is 75. I think collecting different reviews in one place is extremely useful, but I also think it feeds the mentality that everything needs to be an agreement rather than, okay, that's fair. That I can agree with in his argument. Some gaming sites agree that numerous ratings are helpful, but also be reductive, and publications like Kotaku and Eurogamer have long stopped at giving review scores because of the reason. When Eurogamer announced the change in 2000, it also notes that Metacritic scores can cause stifling variety of critical voices. The issue also has been discussed in retrospect in aggregated review sites for other industries such as Rotten Tomatoes for its lack of diversity in its critics. R&D 2 still has its overall score of Metacritic of 97, and it does seem like Slate Magazine review affected the game's ability to become a massive success so far. It became a success by selling 750 in its first week. Rockstar Games developer did not immediately respond to the request for comment. What heated debate about Scobie's rating has highlighted, however, that it is a dissenting rating upon opening the old wounds and sparking discussions about more than the game where you pretend to be a cowboy. This is the type of thing I'm laughing at, because this is the type of conversation that people bring up, and it sort of does, from Ayesha Hassan's point of view, it kind of doesn't feel like, you know, what Scobie said. I don't know. I don't think it was. I think the problem here was he said something, kind of brought up the issues about a video game he didn't like the racism or anything like that, or the words that were used in the game. That probably bothered him, because this game is a mature rated game, and I get the point of why they have to sell these mature rated games. They're marketing it to adults. Now I'm eating a candy right now. And this is rated M for mature. And again, I'm going to point it out. The guy doesn't get it about mature rated games. They're supposed to be that way. If he doesn't like what the game represents, that's fine. But the problem is, a lot of people say that I don't like this, I don't like the game is clunky, and that's a fair review right there. That's a fair review, to point out the issue about the controls. because it does seem clunky on the controls. Glossing over the topics like race and politics. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be doing that. But I understand that some people want to bring this up just so they can make a conversation. But as far as I know, the conversation never should be brought up if it really pisses you off. Now, let me see if I can find something interesting to read. Let's see here. Let me see if I could find something here. Let me see if I could find it. Let me go read this article. I'm going to try to look for an article to read because it seems kind of interesting to read up on. Let's see. I found this article to be interesting. The worse than Scabs gamer rage as anti-union violence. Okay. Last September, The Verge reported development studio Telltale Games laid off 400 employees, leaving only a small group of 25 to finish pending projects. The workers were given little notice of this decision, and those that were fired were not granted severance. That same month, CBC reported Capcom Vancouver, the developer response to Dead Rising game, finally closed its doors, leaving 158 without jobs. Later closure wasn't too much of a surprise. The game industry reported layoffs totaling 30% of the staff last February as a developer restructured to focus more on the studio's headquarters in Japan. In video game industry, it's hardly remarkable. Studio closures and downsizing extremely common, so much that they historically are not garnered to overwhelming amount of attention. The industry is full of other examples. Microsoft cutting off 1,400 jobs in 2009, including the significant cuts to game divisions. Irrational Games, the makers of BioShock series, closed its doors in 2014 and 2017 and saw its share of layoffs and shutting down at EA. Mobile Studios, Storm8, Good Game Studios, PopCam, Montreal-based mobile studio, Hyperion reported laid offs in majority of the staff. That same year, Kotaku reported that Activision had massive layoffs despite reporting a better-than-expected record of fourth quarter. Those who work in the game industry have known for years that the mass layoffs are not just frequent, but a cycle. In 2017, Wired's piece by Andrew Gorham titled "Routine Game Industry Layoffs Kills Creativity." The laments of the business as usual layoffs resulted to broken bonds between creative team members, writers, and level designers who spend months or years together working on the game, only to be separated when the studio no longer has any work for them and has made no plans to retain their talent. Jessica Price, the writer and producer, recently warned former Telltale employees looking for a new job that many new listings are being placed by companies that they themselves recently gone through a cycle of layoffs. In Twitter thread, Price details the reason layoffs, concluding that more often it's mismanagement and it's seemingly the game industry's talent are disposables. Price, who was recently fired from ArenaNet after dispute with fans over dialogue boiled over into harassment campaign. No, that never did happen. Even I mentioned this before. This was never, it was a conspiracy. She never was harassed. She was asked, and of course that she became a really predictable bitch. That successful pressured the company into cutting her loose, known as too well that the game companies externally, unlike the standard, stand behind their employees under the slightest strain. She explains that the thread, most of the disposable jobs go to young workers who can be paid less. Okay. Yeah, that a little chances mostly the companies will be held accountable for their malpractice. This is all, not to some degree. This is all true to various degrees, but dig a little deeper here. The game industry uses an arsenal of tactics to suppress and exploit its workers. Yeah. It's beyond general mismanagement. These tactics include industry blacklisting, outsourcing, precious contract, wages theft, various internal forms of abuse, harassment, especially to vulnerable employees, women, LGBTQ people. That happens to anyone. It doesn't just happen to that many people, because I seem to recall, I remember a lady explaining to us about the issue with World of Warcraft, and her husband telling the story about the issue about her that she had to wait. This is the type of problems I really hate when I hear about this. The word mismanagement, yes, that is the word that people use. The industry to off the hook, but anything is commonly should even be more an incitement. As a result, Price points out the valuing workers in the first place, and the mass layoffs on unpaid overtime is typically deployed but then disgusted to the sort of casualness, or whatever it's called, cautiousness. These practices and attitude are prevalent in a marginalizing level, happening to fit hand in glove, an infamous poisonous behavior of many gamers who as a group have earned the reputation for their harassment of critics, distant employees, or anyone else. Okay, this does not seem right. You're blaming people for not buying a video game because they don't like the video game, because this hurts a bunch of LGBTQ developers. Now, I seem to recall there was some success and there was some failures. And I see where this argument's going to. Because here's the problem. Because it's harder to understand the success about this. And this is something that happened. Okay, the successful occurrence of Gamergate in 2016, Sega forced voice actors to strike, and Berlin Gameworks Unite movement have forced it to suppress and widespread labor issues into the mainstream. This is a reflection of their large leftward political response to resurgence of fascism, failing neoliberalism. Okay, this is kind of weird. Who wrote this article? Lena Polinsky. Polinsky? Okay. This is the type of political, left-leaning stuff that I don't understand. Because this is the type of stuff that they blame people for. No. It is a failure of businesses. It is a failure of problems in the industry. It is a failure of mismanagement. It is a failure for people who make these things. But I seem to recall a lot of people pointed out these issues about the behavior that people, especially their employees, do on social media. This is the problem that I see right now, is social media is the bigger problem. I know that people should have the right to express their opinions, but a lot of people can criticize those opinions either way they like it or not. Yes, you have the right to free speech, but at the same time, people have the right to react to that free speech, and therefore, you know, they either get mad or they just debunk your argument. This is what this person's trying to do. Now, I get that this person's argument is very clear, but they really shouldn't be afraid to argue against this. And they have every right to disagree with it. Now I'm going to try to look for something to read here. Meta stuff, platform building with Gab's woes. Development options, making its own staff. Murder's Pursuit is free on Steam, limited time. Let's see, Leafy was here, YouTube Geographic. Okay. Let's see, esports virus terminates social media reps following offensive tweets. Okay, let's see. Gab's new hostile provider is hosting is just pulled our hosting service and have given us until 9 on Monday to find a solution. Gab will likely be down for weeks because of this. Working on a solution we never give up. Okay, according to the alt-right. Okay, Gab is now banned from PayPal just because cryptocurrency sites. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what I can pick here that could be a good story. Because I know Sony's doing that crusade. Their stocks appear to plummet since September 28, 2008, and the most are mocking diversity direction. I doubt the recent... Okay, so I'm going to have to look at this. Kabu, all right. Okay, we as Asians don't like to pay for short charge products, and censorship means the products are incomplete. No way we are going to support this practice. I'm sure everyone else that I already have a PC is switched, so there's no loss in skipping PS4 to PS5. Also, the release of emulators are just a matter of time. Anyone having any other opinions on the current failings? I'm just reading this from what's going on because it looks like Sony is not. It looks like the stocks are plummeting in Japan because of the fact that this is something that's going to be bad for Sony because of the whole censorship issue of what Sony's doing to certain games in Japan because of the fact that they've been, you know, trying to go through a vetting process with Japanese developers, and a lot of Japanese developers are not happy with what Sony is doing, especially their business practices. As much as I like playing PlayStation, I actually liked it to play their system because it actually allowed you to play Japanese imports. Unlike Nintendo back then, you had to buy the system itself. Sony had this there was a lot of options to unlock to play. There was Action, I think there was called Action Pro or something like that. Let me look it up because I used to remember this product back then. Sony actually brought out the niche audience of gamers to play their games, and I used to remember back then it was fun. I'm going to switch to PC. Yeah, I know, man. How's it going, Squeak? I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna get you the Discord server. You want to come in, man? It's been a while. I'll give you the Discord server because here's the Discord server. You could come in and talk to me. I'm in general right now. How's it? It's been a while, man. What you up to? Oh yeah, mic trouble. Okay. Yeah, because I used to remember something called Action Pro Replay, and I used to remember back then.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, what's up?
You remember?
Sorry.
You remember Action Pro Replay, right?
I think so.
Yeah, for PS1. It was kind of like Game Genie.
Oh yeah. I think I had an Action Replay on my DS back in the day.
Yeah, I used to remember back then that allowed me to basically play imports, because I used to remember playing like Gundam Char's Counterattack on the PS1.
That's cool. Look, I kind of like didn't grow up on imports. I mean, the only time I've ever grown or was like familiar with Japanese exclusive game was
emulators.
No, not emulators, but back in the day, PlayStation, they would have these demo disc.
Yeah, I remembered. It was called
PlayStation Magazine.
PlayStation Underground Magazine.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of grew up like around when they started introducing it for the PlayStation 2, and back in the day, I would actually have some of these PlayStation Magazine demos and a few imported games I would kind of like, able to play, once in a blue moon. I remember the first ever Japanese game I've ever played was Chain Dive. And
Chain Dive.
It was like amazing, but it was kind of unfortunate that we never got it in the States.
I kind of agree, because it would be. I'm looking at this because I never heard of Chain Dive.
Yeah, I remember. I'm not gonna talk about his name again because I've heard some dark shit with this reviewer, which I'm never gonna mention, but he has reviewed Chain Dive, and it's a really good game though.
Okay. I can see the gameplay of it. It plays just like somewhat like I'm looking at it going like, it does have that little chain. Oh yeah, chain grab mechanic.
It's going for like about $99 on eBay.
Wow, it must be a rare game.
Because it's Japanese exclusive. That's the problem. We never got that in the States.
Yeah, and I remembered back then, my friend had right now I gave my friend the PlayStation Action Replay thing, And I remembered a lot of the old games on it. Like I used to remember my friend had like the DBZ fighting game,
Oh yeah.
and that was fun.
The only Dragon Ball fighting game that I've ever grown up with, and I had like zero idea that Dragon Ball Z was, they had a bunch of video games coming out, and well, I never really like noticed it until like I was kind of like around like 7 years old, I think, and the first or probably one of the only Dragon Ball Z games I've ever played on the PS2 was a copy of well, one of my dad's employees, which it kind of sad to kind of see him like end up in this drugged up road, but
It
I,
happens.
yeah, but like well, what I mean is like he actually lends me his copy of Budokai 3, I think, on the PS2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really good game. Fortunately, it was like I so wish I had that game with me, but
I
oh man,
I
I
kind
think
of
I
agree
also
because I miss some of the Budokai games too because I think I played. Let's see, because I remember there was a lot of things on Sony's end that they had a lot of good games, especially their RPGs. Those were the good old days when Sony had a lot of interesting RPGs, and that's what attracted a lot of people to Sony because they didn't give a shit what you do with the games.
no, like they were the like back when I was a kid, they were like the only place that people would game. Like there was either Xbox, PlayStation, or GameCube, but nobody whom I've ever known owns like a GameCube except for like one person at my school. And I mean, back in the day, most people in my class, including myself, would play PlayStation. Right? I still have my original PlayStation with me, but it's kind of broken and
You can still get a practically decent one that's fixed. And I remember a
right.
guy because I'm pretty sure there's some people that could fix those things and send it back to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of learning how to kind of like taking classes for it because I'm studying technology,
Ah, so you're studying how to wit.
studying circuits. Yep,
Yeah,
it's really hard, but
soldering.
yeah, soldering and
Yeah, because it's kind of sad too. Because I'm just looking at how the Sony is with their crusade against.
it's kind of like it's kind of bust.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up because they don't mind they sell games like God of War, and they don't mind God of War.
Wait, what happened? Hello?
Apparently, Sony is trying to censor video games in Japan and releasing it to the U.S.
Oh,
Like the new Sinner Kagura game. You may have heard about it because right now a lot of people. This is a big controversy that's been going around because Censored Gaming brought this up about what Sony was doing, and this was back when Nintendo. Right now, Nintendo's not doing it. They're not going to censor the game.
it's kind of odd seeing Nintendo not going to that censorship route.
That's because a lot of people had backlash against that whole situation.
I remember back when like Nintendo Treehouse, they had people like I forgot his name, but he was this blonde guy with glasses and like a like a striped shirt on
Yeah,
Twitter. He would kind of like demand. I remember he was demanding money while working for Nintendo. Yeah,
yeah,
but
because I know why. Because in Washington State, especially when you live in the Seattle area, you're not gonna get by over there, It's not easy. You got to be rich to be there to get by.
Yeah, but anyways, I remember on Twitter he was mentioning that he didn't want people to buy Senran Kagura while working at
Nintendo.
that Nintendo, exactly. But I forgot his name though, but I think you might know him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I don't want to mention his name because it's kind of sad because that guy. That's the problem. He just he doesn't give a shit about work. He just wants to get paid there. And the problem is they pay their employees like crap over there.
Yeah, for translating their games half-assed.
Yeah, and I looked at that. I realized it was kind of funny though because I was like looking at the memes that they did with what was that one RPG that they released? Fire
Emblem Faith.
Yeah,
Fire Emblem Faith.
A lot of people didn't like. A lot of people didn't like that game because it was literally a meme to itself, and they even did comparisons to the translation, like an accurate translation versus the translation that Treehouse made, and also the removal of what they did in Treehouse. And I thought that
was like very half-assed.
Yeah, because looking at what they did with that game, it felt like they really didn't care. They just removed a lot of the stuff and they just didn't want to translate it. Especially there were parts of the conversation that made sense about the storyline.
Yeah, I remember like they were having this interview with Iwata right before he died, and they were mentioning about the censorship within within Treehouse. I don't know what he exactly said, but I think even like he just came to terms with accepting the whole censorship shit.
Yeah, because you have to understand, like they said, that Nintendo wants to be this family image, and they always were, and they wanted to protect that image because no matter what. And right now, Nintendo
Sense of punishment.
Yeah, I know, and right now, ever since Iwata died, I guess they kind of were like, okay, because he did give him a lot of success with the Wii, and that thing actually sold pretty well.
Right.
But when the Wii U happened, man, I could see he was deteriorating and dying.
The Wii U, I'm gonna say it's like a very strange era. It's more of an experimental era, like another Virtual Boy situation.
Yeah, it was.
I actually still have my Wii U, but I only have like 4 games for it. Compared to my PlayStation, I have like more than 6, maybe 7.
Yeah, I think that system should have been. They should have just started over, but then again, they did with the Nintendo Switch.
I was kind of like hesitant to get a Switch. I told myself after this whole controversy with censorship, I don't think I'm going to support Nintendo, but boy, the tables have turned.
I know, Nintendo just because all the Japanese companies are like, we're going to go to Nintendo.
And what's actually pretty odd is that Wolfenstein: The New Order got censored.
That's true.
Yeah, which so Nintendo is more okay. Let's just not accept swastikas, but let's more accept fan service.
No, I think it's because Nintendo still has that stigma of being concerned about the views of others, and they try to.
Right.
And it's like sometimes it's like they don't give a shit about the lewd stuff. Especially, I remember when they brought out Bayonetta 2.
Oh, I have that game actually. I actually bought it.
I actually did too.
I didn't buy it for the fan service. Actually, I remember seeing it.
I bought it for the gameplay.
Exactly.
Because I really liked it, the gameplay itself, because it was so hilariously funny just to seeing her beating the crap out of stuff and doing the whole dominatrix stuff and combos, and also the dance moves. I thought it was hilarious.
I actually first saw like gameplay of it like back in like when this game came out, like 2010, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing gameplay of it like around YouTube at a Xbox 360. It was like a speed run of it,
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, it looked very good. But I didn't have an Xbox at the time. I was stuck with a Wii.
You can still get one.
Yeah, but lo and behold, like 4 years later, finally turned 17, and I was in high school, and it's actually the one game that actually got me convinced to get a Wii U was, well, Bayonetta 2.
Yeah.
And which include the first game, and I was actually amazed that they had both the first and the second one. The storyline for Bayonetta is like confusing.
It is, because it didn't make any sense, because that was the point of that whole game. It just didn't make any sense at all. I just like
to be honest. All right, go ahead.
It kind of does have that sense of you don't know what to expect about her, but she just does it anyways. Like she just does the whole like. It kind of reminds me of another game called Space Channel 5. I think it was like.
Yeah, that puzzle, that rhythm game with Michael Jackson in it.
Yeah, my friend played that game, and I saw him play it, and I remember him. It was like he was like the hidden like character in the game that you probably would get if you beat it, and it was so funny too.
I think the first time I ever played Space Channel 5 was around the PlayStation demo disc. Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't.
But
it was originally
terrible.
for the
Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I kind of heard the game didn't sell very well, and they had like mountains upon mountains of copies of Space Channel 5.
Yeah.
Like they thought this would succeed in the West, but it failed.
It didn't because a lot of people didn't play rhythm games as much as they.
Except for Dance Dance Revolution,
yeah.
which that was the cause for Space Channel 5's demise.
Yeah, because originally I know it was like, what was that one game that I remembered for PS1? It was called Groove or something like that.
It was I think it's Get in the Groove.
Get in the Groove, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was called.
Yeah, and it was
like it was more of a DDR knockoff.
Yeah, it was a DDR knockoff, but it did have its fair share of popularity as a game. And I used to remember the songs for it. It actually had
I remember like Get in the Groove was really huge, and kind of like my mother's country in Honduras, and like there was arcades of it, people playing like freaking there was like people, no joke, there was actually broadcasts of people playing in the Groove. Like competitions and everything. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah, because I used to remember that movie. I remember that game, and I was just like, Get in the Groove was like, and I used to remember the song for it. I'm your natural playboy now. And that was actually sung by, I forgot his name. Let me look him up.
I think even one of my local Movicos, rest in peace, now it's on AMC, they actually had a Get in the Groove plus a DDR cabinet.
It was actually called Busta Groove. Sorry,
Busta Groove. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Let's see. Natural Playboy was the song that I remembered from that game.
I think I remember they had a Mortal Kombat in one of those cabinets, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's like in every Busta Groove cabinet.
Let me see. His name is Hiro-kun. That's what his name. Hiro-kun. That was the name of the guy. Yeah, the guy who sang that song.
Like
Yes.
they don't make rhythm games anymore. Like you
They
barely see
still
them.
do. It's just they do it with Hatsumiko now.
That's not popular in the West. That's
You know,
unfortunate.
but
You
people do import that game.
Yeah, I think there's like one David Buster's like probably around Orlando in my area that has a DDR Ace cabinet. The one like probably about 2 hours away from my house is like they actually have a not 2 hours, like an hour away actually has a DDR Supernova, which one of my friends, he's one of my online friends, he actually is like crazy for DDR. Yeah, like, he's gone into tournaments and all over Texas and shit. Holy crap!
Yeah, Texas has like the popularity of arcade cabinets for DDR.
Yeah,
Same,
it's crazy.
where I live right now. I live in Washington State right now. And that's the weird thing about it, is that they have a lot of stuff that's happening there.
Yeah, I have another friend, online friend, who lives in Washington State. He told me like there's people protesting and shit. There's like,
Yeah, they always protest there, and it's sort of ridiculous. Did you hear about PewDiePie and T Series?
No.
Apparently, there YouTube. There's a big subscriber base, and PewDiePie happens to be has the biggest subscriber base, but T Series right now is catching up with them.
Oh right, yeah, T Series. I remember. Wasn't that Indian channel that
Yeah,
people were forced to get subscribed to?
yeah,
Yeah. Here's the thing with India. YouTube is making bank on India. So that's why you see a lot of weird Indian videos, a lot of weird children's videos, a lot of weird sing-along videos. It's all because of India. You gotta blame India for all that liquidation that YouTube's doing.
yeah, with their bad music. No, actually, no, it's not. It's not bad. I think it's hilarious that they tried to become like they tried to make Broadway musical type of movies.
I think I've seen someone like while I was taking a math course in high school at like night school. I think I remember seeing someone looking at a weird Indian movie. Like I think he was like one of those adults who had to take a algebra course at
Yeah,
school. Probably was immigrating here.
yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of strange looking at him. Like he was very weird. Especially
I
like the whole language barrier.
Yeah, because I watched a lot of the stuff that was going on, and I noticed. Heck, I was like watching this movie called The Robot. Nothing wrong with Indian movies. I thought they're pretty good.
They're insane.
Yeah, they're insane. Especially the Robot movie. The Robot movie was just so ridiculous.
Right. Did you see that one video where this guy was like riding a jeep? He's like flipping cars and shit, and he killed several people.
Yeah.
And someone decided to like put that Pillar Man music from JoJo.
Yeah.
God.
They literally make some interesting movies that you just can't help but laugh at times, because
You don't get this from Hollywood anymore.
you don't get this from Hollywood. Like they literally make these movies like literally crazy.
Yeah. Hollywood used to be like what we had shit like the Terminator and Saw and all these other movies that came out in the 80s that were very different,
Yeah.
violent, and oh yeah, and campy. Can't forget about that.
Oh
'Cause,
yeah. I
mean,
mean, campy.
now you have Hollywood just rebooting itself, rebooting movies, not making anything new, and even if there's something new, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't. I'm gonna go ahead and change the subject here. There was a big competition going on with computer YouTubers. You probably heard about this competition where they tried to modify all their computers and put like fans and coolers and everything.
Oh yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
J Two Cents went crazy. He went super crazy, and he put on the wig because he wanted to compete against this. I actually like these guys. They're called Gamer Nexus, and one of the guys that are on the video, I forgot his name. He's a really cool guy. He basically tells you the honesty about a lot of these computers and everything, hardware and everything, and software. And the funny thing about it was J2 Cents decided to put on a wig and tried to mimic him and try to mock him.
Oh
And it
my
was
God.
it was the most ridiculous. I was just laughing, and I was like, I couldn't help but laugh at J2 Cents because he was literally making fun of the guy from Gamers Nexus, and it was so hilarious. And because Gamer Nexus beat him in the score on the computer thing because they were doing this like software and graphics testing thing, and they were on the top of the list. They made it to number 1, and then J2 Cents came back and they did this hashtag where J die. I think. Let me look it up. Rest in peace, J2. That was what was funny.
Did you have the video to this?
Yeah, there's a video. Let me see if I could find it. The thing was like rest in peace, J2. Hashtag rest in peace J2. It was like J2 Cents, and then J2 Cents reacted to them like he was like putting on the wig and everything, copying that other guy. Let me see if I could find it. But it was a while. This was like 2 weeks ago. But I thought it was funny. Let me see if I could find it.
Oh yeah, it's Rip Jan House,
Yeah.
2007, 2018.
I know.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and he did. He hated Steve. Okay, his name was Steve Burke from Gamers Nexus, and he put on the wig just to do that, just to mock just to mock him about it because it was so funny. Let me see if I can get the video. And I thought it was funny though because it was like they literally were going at each other over this. This is the video, I think. Because they were literally having a battle over who has the best computer hardware ever that is built. And it was so funny. The Revenge of the J. And this was over a computer battle. Don't get that hair caught in a fan, Jay. Mine frosted over the day when I was testing. Oh, this was 3 weeks ago, but it was funny. It was the most funniest computer battle ever on who has the best.
All rebuilding rigs.
Yeah, over rebuilding rigs. It was so funny because they were like testing all these just to get the highest score on a computer benchmark thing, and it was so hilarious.
Which rig is the coolest?
Yeah, which rig had the coolest cooling system ever and everything, just to see who could get the highest score. And it was so funny too.
God damn, is His head looks like a freaking net
I
nest.
know, I know. He really went all the way with this, and Jay kind of went on the top. And of course, I know Paul was in the competition too because they were trying to see who can outdo who in the game. And I thought it was so funny too because they were literally going off on this too. Because I know that
Jesus Christ.
yeah, even Kingpin was like, "This is crazy."
Did you use a fucking cooler as a radiator?
Yeah, he used a radiator. They even used fans too. It was like they doubled all the fans and everything. It was just like Jay was actually literally using like a freezer just to do that too.
Oh, I've seen people do that before, so he's not.
Yeah. Yeah, because I thought it was funny. Yeah, and Kingpin even was surprised by this too because it was like a little like you would be surprised. In one other video they did, they used liquid nitrogen.
Oh yeah, I've seen people used to like do that to freeze CPUs.
Yeah, because they overheat. Like AMD's free. Like AMD does. But man, I thought it was funny. Because they literally just, in that competition, they literally try to do that.
Yeah, I need to buy an AC multimeter. Damn.
Well, there's cheaper prices like Amazon. I know that Amazon is like another alternative. But then again, eBay's your best choice. Unless you want to go into another store, they could probably do it. Because I actually bought some of my hardware for cheap on eBay.
I kind of got myself a pre-made PC, but I originally wanted to build my PC, but I was kind of like tired that day. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had some issues when I was building this PC. The way it works is I found out my computer had an OEM version, and it just kept screwing up, so I had to use Rufus to install the whole thing.
I'm probably just gonna buy a new graphics card, which I kind of don't need to change the power supply or anything, so I'm just gonna take out the old one, put in a new one. That's about it.
Yeah, I could fix the whole thing if I wanted to. I could probably do it.
Jesus, how the hell do they get all this money just to build a rig?
Well, let's put it this way: I know J2Cents runs a computer building business, and he gets paid a lot of money because he's considered a licensed certified to build computers and fix computers.
I think it's like computer technician.
Yeah, he's a computer
technician.
Yeah, but he knows how to do the liquid cooling and everything to custom pre-build. Like
my issue with liquid cooling is that you have to change the filter. You had to inspect it like a car, so it doesn't seem...
That's a bigger problem. That's why I don't like to use liquid cooling. I've
heard nightmares of it, like they get covered with dirt, dust.
Yeah,
water tubes.
Yeah, it does. It does, but it all depends. If you really want to, you can always go with the fan with a big fan,
or fill it up with vodka.
Vodka, yeah, that's another one that people did because it actually has a really chill factor.
Just buy 2 bottles of vodka, fill it up on your liquid cooling rigs, and that's it.
Yep. There's also... You can also get one of those radiator fans. Those are actually pretty decent, too.
Dang, man. Oh my god, building that, it's probably a nightmare. Sounds like it's on pain.
It is. Yeah, because they practically make these radiator fans that just
Poor rig.
Yep.
It's dying.
That rig is gonna die. Let's see if I could find something.
God damn.
Yep.
I'm kind of shocked that most of these people who like use ridiculous methods to build their rigs, they don't get electrocuted or anything like that.
Well,
the voltage on that shit.
Well, I remembered Linus had a friend of his try to assemble a Pro Mac, and
Mac Pro.
They got shocked and they dropped the screen because it turns out it turns out that the power thing was right in front of there, and they kind of accidentally touched it and shocked and it broke.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it just broke the whole system because they were trying to assemble it, and and he had a friend of his, Luis Rossman, help him assemble it because they bought a new one. They bought this new computer thing, like part of the Mac, and it cost them like $4,000. I'm like, whoa, that's how much it costs to buy the actual part. That is a Mac Pro. Because the biggest problem with those things is that they Apple wants you to buy their PCs instead of
I kind of heard from I forgot this YouTuber who repairs technology, but I forgot his name. Yeah, I remember he did a video on Apple products and how they're suing third-party businesses who repair iPhones, Apples, buying parts from third-party Chinese vendors.
Yeah,
it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, because because they have the right to repair those things, because technically those things have to be reused for recycling, and yet you guys at Apple always advocate for recycling, and yet you want us to dump those things away. I don't get it.
Yeah, and you're saying, oh, but people don't want to buy that vintage shit. Why are you repairing it? That's piracy. This is bootleg.
No, that doesn't seem like a logical argument right there. It's like, that's not piracy or bootleg. That's just people trying to say, look, I kind of like this old phone, and I want to keep it.
Exactly. It's like repairing an old cassette tape. How is that bootleg?
Yeah, how is that bootleg?
If you bought the original product and you want to keep that original product running for many, many years, you're maintaining it for so long, despite there's no repair service available from that sort of company, how is that even bootleg when, corporations like Apple and Sony, etc., they want to make products after their new electronics with better hardware, but some people feel more comfortable to have the old hardware. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like in Japan, they prefer the old hardware. Like, they still have the flip phones because it's very convenient for them.
Yeah. I mean, I remember calling Sony to see if they actually could sell me some of the parts. They're like, no, we can't sell you the parts that you need to repair your PlayStation 2.
Go to eBay. They sell the old parts.
They barely have the, what's it called? Like, they barely have some of the parts I need. I mean, the only part I kind of need is a rubber belt and a Sony plastic cover, and that's it. My system works. It's just those are like the only two things that are broken.
That's fair enough.
All right. I don't want to send it to a repair service because it kind of looks pretty easy for me to repair it.
That's understandable.
Yeah. I'm kind of missing some screws, so I guess maybe that if I can't find the screws, I'm going to have to send it to a repair shop, but, I have a Sony, like an old Sony recorder, but I kind of like, while I was opening it up, I kind of realized the belt's also worn. Man, most of these Sony products and their drive belts, they kind of get rusted and old and
Yeah,
groany over time.
yeah. Well, I used to remember Sony's PlayStation originals kept breaking. Like the plastic in it breaks.
Oh yeah, my cousin sent me his PlayStation. I actually went ahead and cleaned it up. It was like yellow as hell.
Yeah, and that plastic on the top of it breaks. Like it
I had
melts.
to use like I'll still a pot like you know that nail polish remover.
Yeah.
Kind of have to use it on the system to get the whole yellow shit off.
Wow.
But my problem is, it's like I had to be careful with this stuff because it can melt the letters. But I didn't really care.
Yeah.
So even the power button got stuck, and I kind of noticed that the power button's broken.
Yeah.
Not the power button, the
And you
eject
have
button.
you got to get the springs on that thing.
Yeah, I think I have the springs. It's just that I need to buy. It was for the PS1 Slim.
Oh yeah, those models.
Those are easy to repair, I think.
Yeah, those are easy to repair. Same with the PS1s. I can repair the whatchamacallit, PS1 controllers because they had so much
I
gunk in them.
cannot repair that shit. I actually have a bunch of PS1 controllers my cousin gave
Just
me.
open them up. Just open them up
Because he's not using it anymore. But how did he get it so yellow and sticky? That's disgusting.
It's probably because he was eating junk food or something. Grease tends to
Ew.
get into the hands, and that tends to happen. But I remembered I can easily fix my PlayStation 1 controller just by opening it up, and there you go. You just take out the stuff, clean the stuff, and then you make sure that the black buttoning and everything is working, and you just put it back in, and there you go.
Hello?
Oh, sorry. Basically, you can open up those things. They're easy to open up. They're not like locked down or anything like the first like this current gen. They can easily
Like
be
PS4.
opened. Yeah.
Actually, the PS4 system can be easily open if you buy one of those Star Torques,
Yeah.
but with the tiny little ball in it.
Yeah.
I remember on the internet they mentioned that the fan gets dusty, and I
Yeah.
kind of like technically out my fan every year, but I kind of like notice that the eject button tends to get bent, and I actually, while I was putting my PlayStation 4 back together, the eject button didn't work anymore. So I could just probably gonna have to find a replacement eject button belt. Eject button case.
Okay.
And probably place it on my system. That's about it. Because, well, the eject button for my PlayStation is broken, as well as the metal part of it tends to get bent because Sony's fucking cheap.
Yeah, it is true because Sony's pretty cheap on that one. And the thing about it is, like, we talk about this and reminisce about the days of when Sony had this PlayStation, and then now PlayStation is doing this now, and it's kind of like, no, what are you doing, Sony? You're doing the wrong thing. What made you do this to the generation right now?
It's like Sony wants to lose money. Aren't they already in like bankruptcy or something?
Yeah, they're in debt actually. They're still
God
paying.
damn it.
They're still paying up the yin yang, and yet they released it bad movies. They released it. Actually, they did okay with one particular movie, which was Venom.
Oh my god, I'm shocked. But I'm kind of like thinking maybe Sony Animation would save Sony some way.
I hope so, but then again, Sony is buying out. Like they already bought out like Funimation.
My god, no.
Yeah.
Which that explains so much, by the way.
Yeah, because this is something that they are doing.
So they're making money off of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, they're making Dragon Ball the thing right now because that's their biggest seller, is Dragon Ball from Funimation. It's kind of sad that Funimation, had to sell to Sony because they did okay as a company when they were selling Dragon Ball.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
It could have been bought out by Disney.
True. And they would be putting it on Disney Channel.
God damn it, I remember that shit. Disney XD was like weird decade. I remember seeing Naruto and that. Like, how the hell did this get on here? And how the hell did it get so censored?
I don't know.
Yeah, Naruto was on Disney XD at one. Well, it used to be called Toon Disney, but that was real.
Yeah, because it's kind of sad that you don't see Saturday mornings. You don't see the things that really were fun for cartoon blocks.
Back in my day, we had shit like WB, Kids WB and shit. Holy shit.
Yeah, and there's no longer a kids block anymore. It's like they don't have it anymore for cartoons or anything like that, and it's now it's either on Netflix or on Hulu. That's the thing about this whole thing.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, but back in those days, censorship was more rampant, and kids didn't know that most of these shows they'd watch growing up were very violent and bloody. Especially had adult themes in it, but we didn't really care.
Yeah, we didn't really care. Like, He-Man did the same thing, and they had to cancel it. And I'm just like, man, thanks, L'Oreal. Yeah, because it was worth it, wasn't it, L'Oreal? Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, L'Oreal actually canceled He-Man back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. I kind of didn't grow up on He-Man. I kind of grew up on like, the 2000s He-Man cartoon. I think I remember owning some of the toys for it.
Yeah, because that actually had a really good following back in the days. It's a shame that they literally put themselves into that position of trying to destroy cartoon companies left and right. And it's like, man, I just wish they would bring back the old, at least try to make some shows that actually that are decent, that actually tell a good story. But the problem is, you have fans that I can understand that are into My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And
I used to be in that shit, but I stopped watching My Little Pony for like 3 or 4 years now. Holy shit.
Yeah, because the fans or something like that made it worse.
Oh yeah, no, you have no how just terrible the fans are now. They're getting into some illegal shit, and I do mean it.
Like they literally got into child porn or something like that.
Yeah, kind of like that, but when they meant child porn, they meant harassing little children online.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's how bad it was, because I get that most fans hated the fact that yeah, I kind of agree, because a lot of the My Little Pony fans were just literally terrible when they tried to, do this thing, especially when you find out one of their own was caught in a bind.
Oh yeah, even the one of the producers of the show was
actually was the
convicted.
Animator.
The animator got convicted for child pornography charges.
Yeah, and he was living in Florida.
Oh my god, that's where I live.
Yeah, he lives in Florida, and he got arrested for child pornography.
Okay. Him and Jared are gonna have a long talk.
Yeah, Jared and him are gonna have a long talk after what happens next to them.
After being punched in the face by some old man.
Yeah, because the thing about that is that there has been a lot of talk about what's going on in the community, especially in the animation community. Like, they literally are getting upset over the issue with She-Ra. I don't have a problem with the fact that they're going to make a new show, but the thing is,
It's the art style.
it has zero. It has zero originality to it.
Right.
It's just basically, it's like the girl basically is trying to act by herself as some teenage chick who says, "Oh my God, this thing is going to kill us. Let's go ahead and get my sword and kill it. Oh my God."
We're gonna have a fan base on Tumblr. It's gonna be called Tumshi. Fucking.
Yeah, I'm gonna make myself look like a man and try to take on the forces of evil, like that guy who looks like Skeletor but isn't.
Wham man.
Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and go and attack it
She-Man.
with my sword and everything, and oh my God, it's just gonna be so great. This show, and it's gonna be on Netflix. It's called She-Ra, and I'm gonna put my sword on it and just just open and say I have the power, and then I'm gonna just throw it up in the air and just hopefully people will get it because
And it's gonna be like a whole gay Steven Universe art style, the one with the fucking bulb heads and shit.
yeah.
And it's all gonna be lazy and all this crap. And my fan base is gonna be consisting of LGBTQ, STU, VWXY, ZSUV, R2D, C3PO, PS2, PS3, PS4.
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and put in a transgender werewolf.
Xbox dog.
Yeah.
Xbox dog cross X chromosome, Y chromosome, Y chromosome.
Yeah.
75, 64 genders.
Yes, and I can imagine I'm gonna put a transgender werewolf with 2 dicks in
Minus white.
it. Minus white. That's what I'm gonna put in there in the show. I'm gonna put a transgender werewolf with 2 dicks. Yes, 2 dicks. He will have 2 penises, and that will be it.
Oh man, just fuck. It's like cartoons are now, they're not for entertainment anymore. It's all for selling products and attracting.
It's always been that way. It's always been that way because they try to influence kids to buy toys, and then the government, then families took action against those.
I know it's always been that way. But what I meant is like, it feels like, oh, how should I put it? It feels like they're attracting that one particular audience of people and not attracting like a majority of audiences, because remember, Teen Titans Go wasn't meant to like attract teenagers and
It was attracting
young adults.
kids.
It was supposed to be attracting kids, but then females loved the show, and well, they hated females watching it, and I'm like, they canceled the show because, well, it was successful and all that kind of crap.
They kind of decided to separate from it. If the guy doesn't want to do it anymore, he should just say so.
Yeah, it just ended with a good ending, not like a cliffhanger or anything.
Yeah, because if you don't want to do the show anymore, you want to do something else, do something else. Other than that, stop wasting Cartoon Network's time and money with this stupid show and expecting everyone to watch it, because they had to spend a marathon, not just a whole fucking marathon, to show nothing but Teen Titans so that people can like it.
Yeah, and another thing, I know that Young Justice got it wasn't really successful because, again, it was attracting girls, and it took them like several years just to get it revived on Netflix and streaming sites.
Yeah.
So, which is good to see,
I don't really mind it because I really hoped for another Young Justice because I wanted to see if that was going to happen.
Right. I'm kind of ashamed that shows like Thundercats 2011, I think, like 2012. Yeah, Thundercats 2012 didn't get any exposure whatsoever. And those like when they reveal the whole Thundercats roar shit, I'm like, I didn't really had a problem with it, honestly. I just, how do I put this? It's like people were like complaining about it copying Teen Titans Go, but personally, it's just that kids like Teen Titans Go. Kids like all this crap getting released, and I kind of don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am kind of ashamed it never got like a closure or anything.
Yeah, because you have to understand they haven't really they if they would have explored that whole thing.
It's just that, cartoons are, you know, people just barely make money off of it anymore. They probably look at shit online or Netflix.
Yeah, I do agree.
I mean, oh yeah, have you heard about that entire stuff that's going on about Gab and Twitter?
Yeah, I heard what happened because Gab they even got taken out by the Medium too. Like because they basically I read their apology letter saying, "Hey, we're sorry for what happened to the victims in the synagogue thing," and they basically said they admitted that this person was on their social media, but we actually went to the FBI and talked to them and tried to help them. And it was kind of weird how they tried to take them off because they apologized. In all due fairness, they weren't responsible for the shooting.
But the media, they tend to blame them, and
Yeah.
now people at the media are gonna call that site the alt-right news media social media site because we never fucking went through the social media site and used it. We're just gonna say what it is because it caused the shooting. And I'm gonna say this on record. I find it hypocritical that you have all these social media giants at Silicon Valley mentioning that, blaming Gab for a mass shooting, but YouTube had people like that kid who caused that mass shooting at Florida.
Yeah.
He commented on a Southerners video. I think it was a Southerners gun video saying that on one of their comment sections saying that he was going to commit a school shooting.
Yeah.
Right. And I also remember like Facebook having recordings of people committing suicide on camera and also posting violent threats. Like I remember
even live streams too.
Yeah, I think they had that one shooter who did that mass shooting at a church. Remember in Texas?
I remember.
And he wrote that he was going to do a mass shooting, but did Facebook send it to the authorities? No, they didn't. They didn't do shit. They didn't ban this guy's account until he committed the shooting.
Because here's the thing: not every monitor sees everything. They go by reporting. They go by people reporting it, and the problem is they don't always report what people say on Facebook, especially when you have people saying stuff on the internet. And it's kind of sad that a lady went out of her way to call the police in Texas from Canada to basically to go on Facebook and tell them that this boy is planning to shoot that kids in school, and they took that literally seriously.
Right. But here's the thing. What I also find so whenever there's a mass shooting, they immediately take down that said person's account, and they have to. Back.
They have to.
Right. But there's no information out there about this person. They just kept everything hidden. However, Twitter, they just keep that shit out. They don't take it down like Facebook. They keep it out of the open. I don't want to mention this lol cow or anything, but do you know about that guy who did a shooting at a supermarket?
I heard about him, yeah.
Yeah, you know the guy I'm talking about. Twitter kept all of his tweets out there, despite him being, dead. So, they didn't say anything, they didn't do anything. They just kept it out there.
But here's the thing about that bothered me about Twitter is that they're literally getting upset over the fact that Gab, and there's even the fact that they went to GoDaddy and went after GoDaddy over this.
Wait, GoDaddy?
Yeah.
How come?
Because GoDaddy was the one that hosted Gab.
Yeah, that's also weird. But like I said earlier, Silicon Valley views Gab as a threat, and I kind of think they use that tragedy as an advantage to get rid of their small third-party competitor. You know, and as well, I've heard from, I forgot this YouTuber, but he has like glasses, long hair, trench coat.
Sticks Hammer.
Yeah, Sticks and Hammer. He mentioned, I think it was named as one of his videos, that it's because Gab is basically a competitor to Twitter, and Twitter's losing money every single day. And I kind of noticed this as well. Like, if you look at their stock market recently, it's like dropping dramatically every single fucking month. Like, every single month they would lose thousands upon thousands of dollars. And not even their Saudi investors, you know, because the owner for Twitter is the Saudi prince, and of course that's not going to save their ass for long.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm kind of hoping that Twitter would die off, because I'm banned from Twitter. I cannot make a new account. Can't make an alternative account. I can't make, and mostly I would get banned if I, mention someone about the whole
pedophile thing I heard.
And the whole social media shit going on, like how they're controlling users and shit. Yeah, Twitter does not like that when I sit on their DMs.
I noticed that they always do that, because it's kind of weird how they got upset over the fact that someone brings up the whole pedophile thing, especially, protecting users from, because they think it's harassment. But when you point out that this person is a pedophile and is harassing children online, this is kind of, it goes deeper into the whole rabbit hole situation with Twitter, because they're willing to cover it up.
Yeah, and how come they haven't gone to court for that yet?
I wonder if anyone ever tried to ask them that question about why, whenever someone brings up pedophiles, and they should have asked that question at the thing, because they've been so quiet about it that they could have said, "Aha, I gotcha."
I did mention to you this, like, there was a user, I don't remember his name, but he had a list of all these people with pedophile symbols, and he got his account taken down and suspended for about a couple of hours just because he posted all that list of users. And I remember I also posted it on I forgot this website, but it had like a fax in it. I'm so sorry for reading this website. But he was kind of like making a fundraiser to sue Jack Dorsey, and I was one of those people who mentioned the whole pedophile shit, and my fucking comment on that particular website got taken down because I don't know why I mentioned that they should sue Jack for harboring child predators, and posted the same list of users.
You should have went to the court case thing that happened and just sent it over there and email it to Mike Shonovich and tell him about it, or somebody that would go there and try to tell him what was going on.
I think Mike Cernovich is aware of it,
but he doesn't want to say anything about it.
Exactly. It's just, why aren't these people mentioning anything about it? I mean, you got Facebook taking down all those illegal activities, but why isn't Twitter? You know?
I think it's because they want to protect those people, because it's understandable that they paid their dues to society and everything, but it's kind of sad that they would go so far to do this stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, it's kind of sickening.
It's like, and they blame us for all this bullshit. And it's like, look, we had nothing to do with this shit, but it seems like some people on Twitter are just getting upset with us for a lot of reasons. And it's like, look, I'm not responsible for the trolls that are dumbasses that do this shit. They're the ones you should go after, not me.
Right. Even
but
if
yet,
you tried...
but yet they're afraid to go after them, and they're afraid to ban them. And it's kind of obvious that they don't.
Right. Even Twitter, like, whenever there's a certain hashtag, like, if you notice about Twitter, it's all politically altered and changed. Like, if a certain hashtag gets up there that's, how you say, right-leaning or against their social network's narrative...
Yeah,
they tend to take it down immediately.
Yeah, because there's like, I remember, because I know that Saudi Arabia buys a lot of the stuff that they do, but here's what I found out. It turns out Saudi Arabia also took down a certain hashtag that involved were women in hijabs or women in driving cars, and they brought up this political issue about women are not allowed to drive cars in Saudi Arabia because it's against their law and it's illegal. It's considered illegal, but they don't. But the funny thing is, they don't have like highway patrolmen to protect those things. They just let them drive around, but they do get arrested if they're caught driving.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, there was also the fact that women get beaten up in Saudi Arabia, and it's been caught on tape too.
Yeah, I've seen that already. Like, a couple of schoolgirls got decapitated because they were, I think they were doing something, but I forgot. Like, they were accused of, I think that they were accused of kissing boys in the mouth or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like... And you don't see anyone in the West mention anything about this kind of shit, because if you do, and I'm sick and tired of just listening to the same old bullshit. Oh, you can't say that because that's their culture. You should respect it, and we shouldn't be changing it because that's misogynistic and it's sexist and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, because they make these accusations like it's always been that way for a long while. Like, they make these ridiculous accusations against you, and you try to address an actual issue. Whenever you bring up this issue, they ignore it. Like, it's the typical situation where they're afraid to be exposed. It's kind of like they're reinforcing the imposter syndrome. Like, they make these false arguments and making these false accusations against you. Whenever you try to bring up like if you bring up a criminal element, for example, that are trying to con people out of money, they try to defend them.
Right.
And that certain element, it kind of feels like they're trying to, reinforce this idea that you are the problem, and they're just doing this because, well, I can understand the argument of poverty, but doing this would cause more problems. They don't really care if a person gets robbed. They just care about putting out the message that you can't say that on the internet, and you're trying to bring up a conversation about the fact that these people are doing this. They are taking advantage of young women or doing this, but yet they want to bring up the fact that you're bringing it up because of the argument of you're racist. It kind of doesn't help the conversation. You're just basically reinforcing the lie, so you can help them benefit on the fact that you want to cover up the fact that they've been taking advantage of people, especially young women or young people on the internet, or old people on the internet, and it's kind of sad that they do this.
Right. And I think you have mentioned it before that social media is kind of dissing people.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
dissonant. They're dissonant. They're dissoning.
like I don't know, man. It's like back in the 2000s, you don't see this kind of ridiculous garbage. I really hate to be that kind of person who's like nostalgic about shit, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. As a kid, I'd barely see this kind of crap. You know, even in middle school when social media was taking off, it wasn't rampant until
It
like
wasn't.
it's just that now you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you got people saying all this ridiculous crap about politics in school. It's nonstop. And I'm not into politics, but I have to get myself political because of all this shit going on, you know?
Well,
It's just
they keep bringing up like these old wounds on the internet, and it's like a lot of the stuff like they bring up the fact that Gamergate was pissing off a lot of people. But only that, they actually exposed a lot of the truth that was going on within the media, especially what they're doing. And it's like they kind of did this whole conspiracy things, claiming it's a conspiracy, but when you see how they treat people and how they try to act, it does feel like they're doing this out of spitefulness against people.
right. It's turned people very self-centered and egotistical instead of open, you know. It's not healthy, like, at all. Like, no, like, there's no, like, you can't just talk to a certain person online who thinks differently than you, who, you know, wants to exchange ideas, because they'll block you from their account. They'll assume that you're saying something offensive, and they will never ever get out of their shell of, you know.
Yeah, because it's not like people are trying to harm people, but this is the weird thing about it, is that they get off of trying to, you know, get upset over some stupid shit for no apparent reason and bring up some conversation about it. And it's like no one here is trying to, you know, attack them or hurt them.
Right. But, you know, and I'm very tired about pushing this kind of shit, but I'm like, I guess I'm not like the only one just getting sickened by, I mean, tired of this crazy stuff happening in our generation. Like, you know, oh, you think differently, or you are like lean Republican, or you don't like how do you say?
I have to be center of it, because the fact that I get tired of the fighting.
Yeah.
Because the fighting got to the point where the whole NPC thing, you know, you start to realize both sides of the argument are saying the same thing, making the same talking points, but they don't take a realistic view of it and see that there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like both sides have like these arguments. I'm pro gay marriage, I'm against gay marriage, I think, you know, you're ridiculous for assuming this kind of shit, or blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, it's like you look at both sides and it's just toxic. Like, I know this word is like overused a lot, but it's just no one tends to reason or tends to debate about certain topics anymore, you know? Like, we can't come to an agreement on something.
Yeah, that's why most people, you know, are just giving up.
Yeah, it's just, You can't change the minds about anyone or anything. I mean, sure, I mean, sure, I'm for Republican, but in reality, I'm not for Republican. I'm more into like a libertarian view with certain stuff, you know?
Yeah, because the problem is looking at both sides of it, and right now, Trump is actually trying to end birthright citizenship. Basically, for those that don't know, basically anyone that's like, you ever heard of anchor babies, right? The term.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I mean, my dad, he used to be like pro Trump, but now I see him now, and he's just furious with the guy.
Yeah, because a naturalized born citizen that is born on American soil, it is considered by principle, and this is a principle that has been always been followed in the U.S. For many years,
Many years, yes.
for many decades. That if a child that is born, even if you're a non-citizen, born in the U.S., you are considered, if you were born on American soil, you're considered a citizen by principle. And the problem is that there are a lot of people that are disagreeing with this. And yes, it's true. A lot of people, and right now, women in Russia are doing this,
Yeah,
taking advantage of this loophole in order to gain citizenship in the U.S.
there's too many like immigrants coming over here, both legally and illegally. But I mean, like okay, let me just cuz I don't know, I'm kind of mixed about this opinion, right? But what I kind of see Trump's doing, I don't know if I agree with it or disagree with it, but sorry about this. It's like he kind of doesn't want people, illegals, to take advantage of having a child born in the state, right? And the family living here. That's kind of what I see. But like his debate is like, oh, there's illegal coming over this country. They're having children. They raise the child in the states. They work, despite them not having legal documents or legal papers. Therefore, it is against the Eighth Amendment in my eyes. That's kind of what Trump sees, and I've seen plenty of people on the right who are fucking bad shit crazy, who they go out and say, "Oh yeah, Trump is literally fucking Jesus because he's doing something with immigration that makes sense, because America is losing its culture, and that because the globalists want to unite America, Canada, and Mexico, and this is why he wants to fucking stop it."
The problem is that this is what's going on, and it's like we're literally wasting our time, especially trying to make
With immigration.
Yeah, with immigration, because a lot of the stuff that's going on with immigration is, I don't have a problem with immigrants coming in, but a lot of people do. A lot of people have a problem with immigrants because, one, whenever the people apply for food stamps, the immigrants get more, while normal citizens who make ends meet, who try to apply for food stamps, barely get enough to feed their kids.
Exactly.
And that's what upset a lot of Americans these days, because they're not getting, even though they're working class citizens and they apply for food stamps, even the people who work at Walmart who work for food stamps don't get a fair shake in the benefits of working, especially when they are applying for food stamps and they barely make ends meet. And the sad truth is they're eliminating that from any citizen in the United States, but giving it to the immigrants, and that's what pisses off a lot of people
Yeah.
in the United States, because that's what causes people to resent immigrants.
Yeah, the Democrats, and I've heard, again, people on the right mention this, but they say that the Democrats, they don't support American citizens, they support illegals. That's why they want to bring them over here, because they want newer voters. That's the reason why they want to bring mass immigration over here. That's their argument. You know, they don't they don't want to support the American citizen. They want to support illegals. They want to have new voters. They want people who are devoted to the Democrat plantation. That's what I've, you know, that's from what I've heard from through the right's argument, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the left's argument is more, but people deserve to come here. People, they, how do I say, they this is the land of immigration. People deserve opportunity. Why are you taking away hardworking illegal citizens from their jobs and their shit because they want to start families here and all this other crap that I've heard, you know, that, you know, Trump taking, you know, deporting them despite them not committing crime. It's completely ludicrous. I don't know if that's the correct definition of ludicrousy, but you know, it's like, it's crazy. It's insane. It's Nazism that he's doing and all this other crap that
it's not really Nazism in a way, but the problem is that they think it's not. They call it Nazism because it's the word they're going to use to. It's their go-to word because they want to use that as an argument. When it really, it's basically violating civil rights. They should say that instead, but instead they say it's Nazism when it's actually violating the civil rights.
Civil rights, yeah, but it's like, I kind of think, personally, I just have this kind of like idea that I'm kind of spitballing here because me and immigration, I'm mixed about it, right? Because what I assume Trump would do is that he would give people who are coming over here legally, who are working and they receive their Social Security and documents, should be, you know, citizens.
Yeah.
That's what I see. But again, and you know, I kind of think the reason why you have the right going pro borders, and even I kind of see that, is that they don't want America to follow the same footsteps as Europe. You know, because you already saw Europe.
Yeah, I already saw Europe once when I was a kid. It was okay. I went to Germany, went to Switzerland. It's okay.
No, but like Europe today.
Europe today, it's
with
a mess.
The mass influx of immigrants coming over the Middle Eastern countries, coming over to Europe, and how they're replacing them with the European Union citizens, you know, replacing them for work, not hiring the European citizens, instead hiring Middle Eastern citizens.
They're not even hiring Middle Eastern citizens, and they're resorting to criminal robbery. It's like, I remember in Germany, a black African man talked about he was trying to look for a job, and he got upset with these people giving him money because he was trying to find a job over there, and he was living in those tents that they gave them, because literally Germany doesn't have anybody to employ. Like, their citizens are living on welfare.
Exactly. That's the majority of the European Union state. They are a socialist country, and those people rely so much on government assistance and government welfare, and it's turning into basically a new Soviet Union.
Yeah.
but you know that's why I'm kind of against food stamps and well, you know, I'm not proud to admit it. My parents are they rely on food stamps, and I'm kind of like the one person who wants to get a job, but you know, parents want to force me to go to school.
Yeah,
And I rely on government assistance
You-
for my
it's
college.
it's better to go to school because
Right.
they would rather have you have an education, and then you can figure out what you want to do and find a job when you get a degree or something.
Yeah, about the whole degree thing, I've heard people in my college mentioning that finding a career for the job you want, it's pointless now because, you know, there are people working at like part-time jobs despite having a career in biology or
You don't go
engineering or
or
etc.
engineering. Well, I know a guy that, like the guy said, he basically does soldering and he explains it. Like, I recommend you look up Louis Rossman. He could probably educate you on it. You can ask him questions on his live streams, and he'll tell you the reality of being a guy who fixes Apple products all the damn time, especially computers. He'll tell you the honest truth because he runs a business and he runs a lot of stuff that he does.
Well, I'll probably look him up.
Yeah, he's on YouTube, and he actually does make some really interesting arguments.
Oh yeah, I think I already subscribed to him. Yeah, he was the guy who mentioned the whole Apple product.
Yeah, that's him,
business.
Louis Rossman.
Yeah.
Well, Rossman Group. Yeah, I actually listened to him. He actually makes more reasonable arguments in his videos because most of his arguments do seem to point out issues between both sides of the argument. He doesn't try to be mean. He doesn't try to be. He just tries to be brutally honest and blunt about it.
Yeah. Well, from that, I kind of think, you know, through this entire thing, I don't think, like, I do think government assistance, like, heavily relying on it is bad because, you know, we can't keep relying on government, you know, because when people rely on it too much, we become in a communist country, you know.
It's because here's the thing. They also work for it too. They also have to join the military. They also have to do this. They also have to do that. And it's kind of sad, especially for old people too.
Right.
That's why they and I understand a lot of them work. Because I remember a guy explaining to me the argument about communism, that they still have to work for it. Because I remembered a guy telling me that back then we had to work hard to eat in order to survive. That's how it worked for them. And it wasn't easy for them. Even though they were watching like American movies, which they were not allowed to, they were allowed to, in a certain extent, to watch them privately in their own home, as long as it doesn't try to, as long as it doesn't, you know, interfere with the government. They don't have a problem with it, because back then they watched a lot of these American movies, even though they had propaganda in them. They were movies that they kind of did enjoy somewhat, and it wasn't like it influenced them in a certain way. It just that they just wanted to watch them because that was the only thing they could do back then that they found entertaining.
Yeah. I think in those countries like you know, Russia, they did have people creating artwork and stuff. I think most of them would get banned from those countries.
Well, I noticed there was a lot of Russian women that I follow on Instagram, and I thought it was kind of funny that some of them actually did have some really good talent. Like one was a makeup artist, the other one was a cosplayer, another one was like a dancer, and a lot of them do have a lot of talent to being on Twitter. Or on social media, and they actually show their talent.
Oh yeah, for another thing, got running out on topics.
Yeah, I know. I really am getting out of topics because it's like a lot of these topics that people do. It's ridiculous. Like
Right.
there's a lot of talent from Russia, but it's kind of sad that there is this great divide and this war over politics and everything, and blaming it on Russian bots and everything. And it's sad that the only people getting hurt is the people who are making it harder for other people.
Right. Oh yeah, the ROM thing. I don't even know if it's been your stream, but I think I emulated a GameCube game from Nintendo a couple of months back, and I kind of received a cease and desist letter, so I had to delete all my ROMs from my computer.
Oh,
And
really?
now it's hard. Well, I didn't use a VPN while I was torrenting ROMs, so that was a bad idea. My parents didn't care or find out.
Oh, really?
Yep, they didn't care or found out about it. I think my daddy just gave me the letter. He said, "Son, this is for you," and I kind of I went, "All right." I kind of ripped it up and threw it away. So, and I kind of also received an email of it, and I kind of panicked and I threw it away as well. So, but anyways, I did kind of delete all my ROMs in the process.
Yeah, because Nintendo right now is going all haywire on ROMs.
Yeah, and the thing is, most of those ROMs, it's not just Nintendo, it's Capcom, Namco, SNK, all these great games that you're unable to play out in the wild in an arcade. It's impossible to do so now because ROM sites are taking down every single ROMs they have, and the place you can get a ROM legally.
Even preserving those games are not going to be easy.
No, it's not. So, well, because you have all these corporations saying, "Oh, you can't use our products, despite we're not going to release them in forever." And I'm like, there's a couple of games that you cannot get anymore. Well, while I was, downloading ROMs, there were some ROMs that, arcade ROMs that I actually got to play that I was unable to do so because, I was financially unable to. I didn't have the money. And 3, they don't have these kind of cabinets in my area. So I actually did get to play some Japanese ROMs. I was unable to do so, like Gokaiger, I think it was called. Like this weird fighting game that I actually got to play that was made by the developers of SNK, I think. But I mean, I did get an OVA and everything, but that ROM is now I can't play it anymore because that Neo Geo bias is
Neo
gone.
Geo. Yeah, you can't play that game anymore. It's sad though, but it's like most people, can preserve them through other means. But the sad part is, you have to own those things, and here's the loophole I found out. You have to actually own them in order to do it. in order to play those games on a computer.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to own a copy of it, or at least the case of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually got to experience stuff like Darkstalkers and games like that I never got to play for a long ass time, like Metal Slug.
Yeah, same
Which-
here. I admit I used to I love playing emulator games. I played like Super Robot War, and I had to
That was fun.
and I actually played. I actually tried to play the RPG of whatchamacallit, Front Mission, the original Front Mission, and I actually liked it. Front Mission.
I think Karate Kid got an SNK video game, if I'm not mistaken.
Karate Kid.
Yeah, on like Neo Geo, I think.
Let me check. Let's see. Karate.
I think there was a video game inspired by it. Like, if I'm not mistaken. I think I probably like dreamt it or something.
No, there was a Karate Kid game, but it was done by Atlas.
Atlas, yes.
But it was on
Damn.
NES.
Yeah. So what the fuck was I mentioning, anyways? Shoot. It's weird.
Yeah, there's like a lot of games based on movies.
Yeah, SNK has so many imports and so many Japanese we never
Yeah.
got in the West. And it's a shame that most of us are going to unably play it anymore because Neo Geo BIOSes don't exist anymore. Especially when you have to, when purchasing a Neo Geo, you have to like fork over $2,000 for one fucking arcade cabinet and a system that possibly may or may not work. You have to send it to a Japanese solderer in order to repair it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame too, I mean, well, we do have the mini Geo, but good luck trying to find one.
Yeah.
Those things are-
There's also the new Neo Geo, USB things that they have, the product that they brought out, but unfortunately that's a lot of money to spend.
Right. And oh yeah, Capcom. Oh wow, where do I begin? I cannot find a Street Fighter cabinet out in the wild until today, that is.
Well, I actually
Small.
found out that there was this arcade cabinet that you can get at Walmart. Right now they're selling it at Walmart, and it's like it's one of those little mini arcade cabinets.
Mini
You
arcade cabinets,
And
yeah.
you can get the Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition on there.
But the controllers I heard that weren't as good as the arcade.
Yeah, that's true. But you can fix
Mess
it and
with it if
modify
you're-
it if you know what
Yeah,
you're
you can
doing.
modify it. If you know how to do it, that is. I have found a Street Fighter 3 third impact cabinet at a Fuddruckers. If you don't know what that is, it's a burger restaurant that is like 70s, 80s,
Mhm.
like it's 60s, 70s, 80s restaurant.
Been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's a popular chain that's been around, yeah. But mine's actually having to put a Street Fighter cabinet in. The first time I saw that, my eyes were literally lit up.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, finally a Street Fighter cabinet for such a long time. Because, I barely find those anymore. I mean, I remember back in the day, I found like a Street Fighter versus Capcom cabinet. Not Capcom, like a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet out in the wild.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
you barely find that anymore.
Yeah. I remember playing like some of the old flashback, like I'm not a big fan of at games, for example,
Yes.
Yeah, because I know people were complaining about their consoles being that the Atari Flashback and because they kept bringing back like these old console games that you like to play, but they're basically emulators. That is the issue that some people were complaining about. Like a lot of it has to do with audio. A lot of this has to do with the fact that people complain about audio issues with some of the Atari Flashbacks. Like, I understand that they tried to bring like the Sega console system, for example, for their Flashback Sega thing. A lot of people were not happy with what they did.
No, they weren't. And I actually, well, like an engineer's job is to make things cheaper and affordable, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what their job is. But at games, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, they have no testing. They have no, they have no, what's this thing called again? It's just a word. They don't have any ethics department, from what I assumed. They have no quality control whatsoever.
Yeah.
With their products, and I have seen people like Review Tech USA mentioned that at games, this console is like, its audio is terrible. I mean, I have seen videos compare it.
Yeah.
But do you think people actually have the time to go ahead and open their console, buy a soldering kit just to fix that one audio issue?
No.
And most people, like at games, I remember back in the day, they would have SD cards and would encourage people to download ROMs and play it on a Sega.
Yeah, because they're from China, from what I understand.
Yes.
And that's the only thing that's their go-to thing. And right now, you have these they're trying to compete with other businesses. Like, I understand that they were trying to compete with like, because right now I know what they're doing. Like, they're trying to get into the video game market, and this is what China's doing, is getting into the video game market to compete with other companies.
What a joke.
Yeah, because they're slowly trying to get into that market, but the problem is, you got the quality control issues is one of the bigger problems that they have in China.
Oh man, the console war is gonna get fucking disastrous.
Well, it'd be interesting if China tries to enter the console wars, making their own product, but they have to be original about it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Because they can't copy other people's ideas, but they can try to make their own original work if they want to. If they desire to make if they want to compete in the market with Japan and other things, and make a console that can play, like, for example, any sort of game, like any old game or anything like that, I would support it. But the problem is, you're going to have critics that will always talk about the issue of quality, because a lot of these games that you guys sell
have no quality control.
Have no quality control.
Yeah.
Especially when you try to sell a product that you think is going to sell because of nostalgia, but the biggest issue is there are fans out there that have this big nostalgia mentality, that they want the quality of the sound to be there when they play this game, because they've been Sega fanatics for a very long time. Same with Nintendo, same with other things. But I kind of realized, after a lot of companies that have attempted to make systems that can play like Nintendo clone systems, like I know that they did an Atari clone system. Like, I got to give props to some of those companies that try to attempt it, because a lot of people...
let me try to look it up on Amazon. They are selling a bunch of these ROM consoles on Amazon that have, no joke, Neo Geo games, old Capcom games, and I think a bunch of Sony, Nintendo, Super Nintendo games. I think it was the Phantom Player.
The Phantom Entertainment System. Or
Yeah.
Phantom Lab Board.
Let me try to look it up. Arcade system.
The Phantom Council. Let me see what it is.
Oh, now they're putting it like different names, I think. Shoot. Again, now they're calling it the Pandora Box. That's it. The Pandora Box, Pandora Box 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And all of it is just a bunch of hacked Super Nintendo and what's another thing? And yeah, the Phantom Pandora Box. That's what it's called, a Pandora Box.
That basically emulates the system.
It's just a illegal way to play on your TV with an arcade stick.
That's kind of like the Ouya in a way.
Yeah, and they're selling it for about $106 or to $400.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it. It looks kind of like it's a white console, and it came out in 2004 at E3.
Yeah, and there's like different designs of it and different versions of it, and I think they would include different game packs with each each of them, and none of them have 3D games. It's just a bunch of it's just a modified Raspberry Pi with a cartridge slot.
Yeah, which can emulate a lot of things. And this was by... Yeah, I could see the Phantom. But this came out in 2004.
Wow.
Yeah. I see what's going on here. It's like they couldn't sell this, and they just basically... Let me see what else. 10 Chinese game consoles you didn't know existed.
How are they not sued by Capcom
or Nintendo or any other company that does?
I'm guessing this is why Nintendo wants to take down ROMs, because the Pandora Box.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly a way to compete with the SNES Mini.
Yeah, and I used to remember the Phony was another one. that the
Oh
Chinese
my god!
made.
I think I had a friend who owned a fake PlayStation. Like one of my best friends, growing up in like elementary school, he brought this fake ass PlayStation 1, and it is so weird for me to like say this. It's like a PlayStation console, and inside of it was like a it was like a gray LED screen with a slot in it. And it's so weird. Like, he showed me it, and it is so fucking strange.
I'm looking at the Chinese version that they call the Oh Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude, even especially I remember, like, a kid, I remember growing up with, like, fake-ass Chinese knockoff NES systems. I remember, like, they would have these kiosks filled with fake NES systems. Like, it would be like a penguin with a tiny red LED light.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it had, like, pre-packaged with it was Super Mario, like a hacked version of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Hacked versions of I think they also had like a hacked version of Spider-Man. Basically all these great NES games, and they would like reskin it. I think there was one with a fucking Barney the dinosaur in it.
Yeah. They try to copy like the PSP. I remember that was another one that they did.
Like, but the ones that I grew up with, I don't even think I can see them in these fake ass NES systems, but they were like they would they would run it on these old ass TVs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clones that can run on the old ass TVs. And the funny thing is they actually made something. Let me see if I can look this up because I'm looking at the 10 Chinese knockoff list that they have, and this one can actually, this one system that the Chinese made, and I actually kind of agreed with what the Chinese have done because they borrowed my idea of making an expandable hard drive, like an expandable hard drive slot that you can easily put in.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't know Ronda 1.5 was on the
Ranma
NES.
Yeah, it was. They actually had a fighting game.
This was official? Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, back in the early '90s. Because when they brought it out, I remembered when it came out on NES, it was one of the biggest popular titles that was imported in the U.S.
Dang. Anyways, back to that whole bootleg shit. I think they would also like have like these fake ass RC cars at a mall I've gone to growing up. I think I remember like going. I used to like take piano lessons, and I think one of my teachers is her daughter. Like she had her kids like because you know she's living with her mother.
Yeah.
Like I mean her mother's living with her daughter, and her kids would like have most of these bootleg NES systems. And I think I remember one time I played like one of those bootleg systems, and they had like this weird monkey game. It was so fucking strange. Like they even had like all these weird ass hacked ROMs that the Chinese would like fucking make.
I remembered a friend of mine tried to, because I remember in the mall a long time ago that they were selling this little thing. It was a console game, and I remember that they sued this. I know Nintendo sued this Israeli company that was making this ROM thing where it contained a whole bunch of Nintendo games.
Oh yeah, those multi-carts.
Yeah, and it had like the gun, you know, it had like the little plastic gun, the controller, and everything. It came with everything on it, and they took that. And I know that Nintendo sued an Israeli company that was selling it in the U.S. at malls, and I used to remember they were selling it at the mall, and people would buy it. Some people would buy it just because, well, it was like it had all these old ROMs that you could play on there. And Nintendo was like, nope, you're not selling it here in the U.S.
You know, I'm kind of like surprised that, you know, seeing JonTron making a review of all these fake ass bootleg NES systems.
I would too.
Like, when he actually showed that stuff, I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen these kind of shit in like forever. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is like during the whole plug and play craze.
Yeah.
Like back in the early 2000s, they would have something called TV games, and they would have Pac-Man and
Yeah.
all these old Namco games pre-installed. But malls, they would bring all these old ass Chinese games,
Yeah.
and like for sale, they would like show them like saying, "Hey, you can buy this for your kids if you're cheap enough to like if you can't afford a fucking PlayStation 2 at the time." Like, here you go, parents. This is a cheap ass, fake ass NES. Dang.
Yeah. And I'm looking at Hyperkin. You know who Hyperkin is, right?
Oh yes, I know exactly who Hyperkin is. I think around high school I found out about like they were selling third-party systems, and they would show off while playing official NES games with it.
Yeah. And I remember they did this too. It was like a long time ago. They've been trying to make these hyper, like right now Hyperkins, like they're releasing like the the old Xbox controllers, like they called the Dukes, with the LED and everything in it. And there's also the they're releasing a Sega. Let me see, PlayStation. Let's see, Nintendo, Microsoft. What do they sell? Okay, the Mega Retron HD, which is the Sega, and also the Super HD, which is the Super NES. And they're also their handheld Super NES thing. Oh wow, they really did it. They actually made and also Retron 77, which is their HD version, which you can plug and play onto HD to play the old Atari games.
Ah, man, you know what someone should do? Like, make a Tumblr documenting all these fake bootleg game systems.
Well, they're not bad, though. That's
right.
the thing. Right now, I found out that they're making a converter box for PS2 for HD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You can get, but it's expensive though. But they're making a cheaper alternative to it right now on Hyperkin, where you can hook it up to the thing and then it'll play it, and you can put an HD wire onto the end of it, and it'll play the game, and you can watch it on.
I know that there's another corporation out there that's making a third-party system that you can plug into a like they were making third-party NESs, SNESs, and a CD PlayStation player. Like you can plug in all these systems together. But I forgot what was the corporation that was making it. I think they had a YouTube video.
Yeah. And there's like several types of ones that do. It's like,
hold on, let me
look them up
YouTube quickly, because I remember Metal Jesus made a comment on that video.
Yeah, he made a comment and talked about
a while back.
Let me see.
Hold on, it was like
oh, that's the thing. Yeah, that arcade stick thing, Pandora. But that's expensive.
Man.
Let me see if I could go.
Yeah, what was that console that got released with Bonk in it? Oh shit. PC Powers or something. No, not PC Powers. It was PC Engine. That's it. Let me try to look that up. Because I think they had advertisement mentioning that they had a third-party PC Engine CD player.
Yeah.
Yeah, included. It was like a third. Hold on. It was like they were advertising it as this super console or something. God, I wish I had that video. I just don't remember the title of it. But I'll probably try to send it to you. I think you probably saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Metal Jesus made a comment on that. On that video a month ago. Like, even he was kind of skeptical on the system.
Yeah, because one last product he reviewed, it turns out it was a fraud. Because it was using the whatchamacallit, software, actually hardware from what was it called? Orange, I think it was Raspberry Pi Orange. That's what it was. And they were using a CD-ROM for that thing. And they were trying to sell it on Kickstarter and pass it off as an actual product.
Yeah, but the way they advertised that one system, it was It was so fucking. Oh yeah, yeah. Now it's now I know it's. I think it was called the Polymega.
Yeah, the Polymega was what it was called. Actually, yeah, the Polymega was actually an interesting system because, but that was another product that it wasn't the Polymega. The Polymega is basically a. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one that he actually made a comment on that, saying he was kind of skeptical on the system. I don't blame him.
Yeah, but he's also skeptical with another product that happened to be like he found out from a friend who was a technician that he was using the Raspberry Pi system hardware.
Yeah, there was only like one that made a truly dedicated third party system, and that was it was like this guy who made like the Super Nintendo that that was like playing ROMs at 60 frames per second.
Analog.
Yeah, it was like this like I know that Digital Foundry guy. Oof. I forgot what it was called again. Hold on, I'm so sorry. It's like they have so many consoles there. Holy shoot. I think it was called. Try to look it up. It was the. Hold on. Yes, I know My Life in Gaming also made.
I like Life for
yeah yeah analog Super NT. That's right.
That's
what's called the Super NT.
Yeah, the Super NT is a good product too.
Like it was all hardware base. I feel like all these old ass systems, like they should kind of re-release some of these old games because most of them are out of print or got destroyed by CD rot, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, because a lot of products that they're trying to compete against, because I know a lot of third party businesses want to compete for a lot of good reasons.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that we are kind of all gonna live in. Retro games are gonna make a comeback.
I wish.
I hope so. Because nostalgia is huge nowadays.
Yeah, especially when people are trying to bring back the Dreamcast. I know a lot of people wish the Dreamcast would come back and Sega would reign as one of the best competitors against Nintendo, but truth was they never were the best competitors. As much as I like Sega games, Sega hasn't really done much with their IPs, and they pretty
in a
long time, except for Sonic. And as much as they try to attempt to make Sonic into this big deal, they absolutely failed.
Yeah, I think that you don't think Sony is going to end up the same route as Sega, do you?
I hope not.
Because they moved their offices to California, same thing Sega did. Except, Sega had like 2 divisions running at the same time, while Sony America is controlling Sony Japan.
Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, it's pretty much what they're gonna do with it. As much as I like Sony, it's kind of a shame that they lost their computer because they sold off their computer in order to focus on the movie industry. Because they practically sold off their computer infrastructure in order to survive, to basically go into the movie business.
Yeah, and I don't think the movie business is doing them justice.
Well, they're buying out a lot of companies left and right, but
what happens when someone buys them out? When someone buys companies and they try to get bigger and bigger, come crumbling down.
I know.
And I kind of noticed that a lot.
Yeah, and the problem with them is that they need to really, consider their future and try to focus on what they need to do is important, because right now they're not doing anything really big with their business. They're just basically just getting it. They're just, because right now they have these people in the business that are like concerned about their own issues, and it's like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Right. It's just like, I think I remember back in the days of like the early 20s, Sony was huge back in the day. I didn't grow up in like the early 90s, but seeing some products that my parents owned throughout the years, it was all Sony. I mean, back in the day, I used to have like my own personal Sony monitor. It was a Teletron, like a big fat Teletron TV, and I would actually just game on that Teletron TV with my Sony PlayStation. So the quality for that television, that being Sony. Especially the smartphones, they would actually dominate with mobile gaming back in the day. And I know mobile gaming is like very niche back in like the early 2000s, but back in those days, I remember playing a lot of like fucking Skydive, Snake, and even fucking tennis games on all these mobile platforms. I think I remember like one of my dad's old fucking smartphone. I don't know what carrier he was on. I think it was Boost Mobile or something.
Yeah.
They would have like this weird Dracula game with a female Dracula in it, and it looked kind of Castlevania-ish.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, I hate to get back on the other topic on ROMs and emulation. Mobile games, they don't, like, most of their games are just lost media now. Like, you'll never be able to replay them ever again on C or any other system, because those mobile carriers, they would monitor their games. Like they would charge people certain amount of months to rent out a game, because back in like mid early 2000s, they would have stuff like Kingdom Hearts, and it wasn't like the Kingdom Hearts that we know of, but it's like it was like this weird mobile game for Kingdom Hearts, and it was only exclusive to that certain amount of carrier if they pay 99 cents a month to play that certain game. They even had Doom on fucking mobile. They had Sonic on mobile. They had all the games on mobile. And, well, mobile games back in those days, they looked like shit.
I think it was called NG something.
N-Gage.
N-Gage, that's what it was called.
N-Gage. Yeah, I think even the N-Gage, they had so many games that's never gonna... Oh, no, not the N-Gage. It was another system, but it was a phone.
It was like a phone slash... It was like a...
Yeah. The N-Gage is another system, but it's not like... It's not like the mobile games I'm mentioning. The mobile games I'm mentioning is more of a...
It was like one of those little small... It was a handheld game console slash smartphone.
Right, and N-Gage is like a portable PSP with a fucking smartphone duct taped to it. But the one I'm mentioning is more of a console-ish, like not a console, but it's more of a
Nokia
play. Yeah, rent-a-play kind of thing. Like they give you a certain amount of days to play a type of mobile game. Like they would give you like certain days to play that certain game. If you like it, pay 99 cents a month just to play that game.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like
one of those systems that you couldn't help but have.
Yeah, and I don't know, the smartphone that my dad had back in the day, it only had games, but it would also stream television. This is like before smartphones were the big craze. And it was like one of those old ass phones with an LED screen. It was so weird.
I think Sony actually did that too.
With
the Xperion, what it's called.
yeah, I think that's where I also played tennis. It was like my uncle actually had that phone. I actually remember playing like fucking this tennis game that Sony advertised, but that also had that whole pay a certain amount of months just to play it kind of deals. Yeah, and that's the problem with taking away emulations, because there's no way we can be able to replay these old ass mobile games, and because they're gone forever, especially with their online services. Because this is like online gaming before online gaming was a thing.
Yeah.
Whole download to play kind of thing, but except this is like pay 99 cents to play it.
Are you waiting for that? Let me see. I know Sony's trying to do this, but they've been doing this as of lately. Sony's planning to bring back the backwards compatibility on their new system, from what I heard, because it could play PS2 games. This is the rumor that's going around, that they can emulate the PS2 games. It can emulate the PS3 games, and also because that's what people wanted on the PlayStation 4, but unfortunately they can't do it. But then again, it's been proven that it can do it. The problem is you have to have software for it in order for it to work.
Oh, right. Kind of found that game. I was kind of referencing the kind of Castlevania-ish.
Oh yeah, Castlevania.
Yeah, it was a mobile game that kind of looked exactly like Castlevania, but it was a Dracula game. I think it was inspired by the Dracula movie that came out.
Yeah.
But they had like a female character in it. It's kind of weird.
Blood Rain, I think it was.
Yeah. It was called Blood Rain?
I think it was, yeah. Because she was a vampire, and she was wearing leather, and she was trying...
I don't think it was Blood Rain, but it was a weird... I'm pretty sure it wasn't Blood Rain, but I know the thing you're talking about. It's not Blood Rain. She wasn't wearing like red boots. She was like wearing like a black coat or something. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah.
But I think it looked similar to this screenshot right here. It was like a weird game at the time. That's the issue with taking away all these mobile, like I said, all these ROMs out of the internet, because there's games out there that are like lost to time that you're never going to play again.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, especially with mobile games, like that's a rarity now. I mean, arcade that you're never going to also play again.
It's true.
I know that what was this division that Sony had? It was Air 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's like arcade cabinets that were popular back in the day that Sony is not porting over to like systems, gaming systems. Like there's one game that I've played a lot. I think it was called Wild Riders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you cannot find a cabinet on the wild for Wild Riders. It was like this weird, not weird, but it was like this motorcycle
JoJo-ish art
crap.
style.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wild Riders.
Oh, did you watch the video by Memeology, right?
Yeah.
Apparently he released a new video about the YouTube series Why YouTubers Are Depressed, the final season narrated by Lit Slide Bill.
Oof.
You want to see that one?
Yeah, sure.
I want to see it because I want to because this is something that I'm gonna go ahead and link it to you and see what you think of it.
Right. I'm probably gonna say for several minutes I have to like get back
Get
on
off,
things.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's getting late. I know, because you live
And I
in
have
Florida.
college. I have college at 10:40.
Whoa, okay. Let me go ahead.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and play this video because I'm gonna try to, and then I'm gonna probably get off after this.
Right. I shouldn't be talking, but my parents are falling asleep. I'm trying to keep my fucking voice down.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's listen to this video and see what.
Yeah, it's just that these YouTubers are like wasting their time making money.
Yeah, because it's the big struggle. Let me see if I can play this.
They want to make money on the internet. That's shouldn't be the case, but it is a new job. It is a way to make their living.
Yeah, and he's doing a retro intro.
YouTubers abusing the platform and manipulating their audiences as a whole is far from over. But the BetterHelp fiasco and those who jumped on the sponsor without giving two thoughts about it because of money, this chapter may have come to a conclusion. Just not the conclusion we expected. Right at the sundown of this debacle, we discovered, thanks to PewDiePie and Drektanis, that the testimonials on the BetterHelp site were fake. A paid actor who didn't know what BetterHelp was came forward to tell his side of the story.
Since I released my first video, I've actually been contacted by the guy in that video. His name is Rob Spence.
How long is this video?
He is a
Holy
paid
shit,
actor
30 minutes.
on the website
Yeah.
Fiverr.
I guess we can go back to the very beginning. So before we start, like, it definitely said in the script to say Julian says. I want to make that very clear. I did not mess
You
with the
didn't fuck
script
it up, that's
whatsoever. No, I take full ownership of my scripts. I know them well. I didn't fuck it up. I think that was about 30 days ago. I probably did that job, maybe about a month ago, maybe. And then it was literally the other night. My partner's brother texted, say, Rob, you're on this PewDiePie video.
And the thing that really confused me about the testimony that you did is, this is where it's weird, okay? Because you said that you sent us a review, didn't you? That the customer had left you after
That's
you
right, yep.
stopped. And from that review, it was sort of like hinted that that was the customer that had sent you that. They'd had a good experience with BetterHelp, but they were too shy to do their own video testimony, so they hired you to do it.
Correct, yes.
But the review says Julian says, so that implies that the customer is called Julian, but you said that the person that left you the review is not called Julian, ergo, the person that paid you for the job is not Julian, so they're not the customer.
Absolutely, yeah. So whoever
We can draw our
hired me,
conclusion from that.
yeah, whoever hired me, their username wasn't Julian. It didn't have any, Jules 123 or anything like that. I had no indication it's Julian whatsoever. But on the flip side of that, also there is no indication that their username. Let me put it this way: the username wasn't BetterHelp. That's what I'm trying to say as well. So whoever
Right.
this person is,
So the shorter version is
it could be
depressed
anyone.
because they're making money off of
whether BetterHelp
red
applied
flag-
them down the line, I don't know.
The red flag
Yeah.
for me was,
it's a long video
I
to go
hired him
through,
because
but
I was
yeah,
too
the
shy
short
to
It
do
answer
is,
is like,
but it shows it,
Okay,
it
so
does
you
show
had
some
such great
truth to
service
what's
with this
going
website
on.
that instead of just leaving like a written review like a normal person, you decided
I mean,
to
I've
go
heard
on
from
like
someone
a
in college
marketing
telling me
website
that
and pay a
YouTube is
guy
slowly
to leave a
dying.
video review for you.
Like it's slowly killing itself.
It's
It's not only that. It's just I'm addicted to this website, and I hated that.
because there's nothing to watch on television, and YouTube just
They try
turning
to
into this.
they try random stuff like cat videos and such.
It's like they want to make your face glued to the screen as long as possible. It's like Twitter 2.0, except, you know,
Yeah, it is.
they want to make you
The
look at
script.
it
Like,
every single day.
I love a lot of things. I love a lot
It's
of
just
companies,
not
but
healthy.
I never had like such great
It's like
service that I felt
binge-watching
inclined
television.
to purchase like an actor to like
No!
talk about it for me. That's
Yeah.
so strange.
Like for
I
me,
mean,
just to answer
personally,
that
when I
really
think
is,
you, I mean,
so yeah, so
again,
I can
Google,
sort of put a line in
I
the
don't
sand and
think I
say,
can see
whoever did
YouTube
hire me,
actually
their username
dying
wasn't
because of
Julian or
fucking
anything
India
like that,
shit
and it
going
wasn't
on.
anything to do with BetterHelp.
The
Never
thing about
once
it is that
did they introduce themselves
YouTube,
as
ever since they
BetterHelp
caved
or as
into
anyone, really.
Verizon, because of
Their
the fact
profile,
that people
when
were
I've kind of
backing out
researched their
because people were
profile
complaining about all these
since
issues
it's all
with
come out, so they're based in
PewDiePie
Albania. So they're
and
located in Albania.
and
Once again,
monetization.
whether that's true or not, that's out
This
for
is
debate,
what's
but
going
that's-
on.
That's what it is. you know?
YouTube is
Seeing as how
seriously
the
having a
YouTube
problem
campaign was falling to pieces, BetterHelp decided to go
with all
heavy on
these YouTube
Facebook,
commentators,
with forced ads going into people's
LGBTQ
chats.
activists, and all these other videos that are popping up, especially the Spider-Man and whatchamacallit, they just really caused a problem for a lot of YouTube for years.
Hmm.
And this was the final backlash of what happened.
Dang. Well, yeah. I don't even think, again, I don't think I can see them dying. Because you already know what's going on.
As well,
Now,
the company
YouTube
is still
is
a
just
long
turning
way to
into an
go in regards
industrial
of fixing the information they
kind
have
of site.
on mental
You know,
health.
most of these
Some of their
multimedia
information, as you
social
can
media
see,
giants are.
contradict official sources.
Like, they're no longer creators, they're more for advertisers.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
And it's harder to
Agent of
express
Doubt
a lot of
tried
stuff.
reaching to Elon Matas
Yeah,
so he
I mean,
could clarify
you
some of the things
only
said
have
and
like
done by the
400,
company.
300
The
subscribers now.
response was lackluster.
I think
Right.
471.
Right. Me, I only have about 408, and I it's like back then when I used to post videos, but then one day I just said, you know what, I'm gonna delete all my videos if I'm not. What's the point of being on YouTube when you have all this ridiculous shit going on? It's impossible to get viewed. It's like a machine at this point.
I don't really care. I do it as a hobby. Because really,
Yeah, same.
it's like video editing. Yeah, I could do that. I could do some educational videos about video editing and show people how I edited stuff and make memes out of a software that's not as popular as Adobe, but it's cheaper. It's called VSDC, and I can easily make because they actually offer Chrome, like the Chrome effects. Like you can actually like make meme videos like crazy using the green screen stuff that they have, and a lot of the stuff that you could do it's pretty easy.
Mhm.
And there's like the tutorial videos that show you to use it, because VSDC it's like Sony Vegas in a way, but you have to learn the steps on how to edit everything, and I had to learn, and I had to teach myself thanks to those people who made those videos, because if I should really give credit to those people, because they actually taught me how to make those videos. Without them, they deserve the credit, because
Right.
without them I wouldn't make the content that I would have made. Like I made content for, like I tried to make this one video where I put like JoJo Bizarre Adventure character in there, and he was like, oh my god, no.
I I remember like back in those days, I would make YouTube videos because I got inspired by people like Pokebloggers and all these Pokemon. I used to have like a Pokemon channel, and I would kind of like show off Pokemon stuff. But then eventually I went, I'm gonna delete my videos. Maybe I'll make some new videos, probably when I feel like it. And then after that, I experimented with parodies and voice acting. And then afterwards, I kind of grew tired of it.
I kind of like conspiracy because I actually get some views out of conspiracy sometimes.
Right. I used to do like reaction videos, but then those got stale.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to become into those kind of people who would make money off of just watching a video and yelling at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, because
I mean, now it's just this is what I meant to say. It's like it's no longer fun, so I kind of stop uploading altogether.
Because I get a lot of shit for a video that I made a while back. Like, for example, I did the video about extra credits, the whole accusations against him, and there was also videos that I made about the guy who built that PC. I got like about 9-something views, and a lot of people hated that video. And the whole NASA, the NASA fur conspiracy, it didn't get that many views because no one gave a shit about what happened with drama on the internet.
Right, because you got people like Keemstar making bucks out of drama.
Yeah, because a lot of people would rather watch drama.
Petty drama YouTube shit.
Yeah, it's petty YouTube drama. Like, I even talked about James Portnow, and that got like 800-something views. Thundercats Roar drama, that got 500-something views, and people actually liked that video. Let's see what else. Let's see if I can look it up. I know that I got a lot of flack for that whole Juwario Y video.
I don't want to mention him. But yeah. It's like, I mean, now it's just, YouTube is all, it's all a corporation. It's not about making videos.
Yeah.
For the fun of it. Now it's just making money. And I kind of think,
because I made tons of videos, and a lot of them don't get. They're like a hit and miss. Like,
right,
a lot of the videos that I make are a hit and miss, and and sometimes you're not gonna get famous overnight because you made one video that mattered to people. It only matters to those that want to watch it. Like, I actually made a video called My Thoughts on the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Turtles, and I literally made memes of that whole thing. And I got copyright strike from it, and I was just like, I don't really care. I'm not trying to, belittle people or anything like that. But it's like, there's also the fact that people are bringing up the whole base gamer situation. And I'm surprised that Monday Matt brought it up, same with other people. And I brought this up about in June when they closed down, and they didn't bother to do anything about it. It's like, there's nothing really wrong here. They don't really care. And there's the fact that I try to bring it up in June, and even KIA didn't give a shit about it, because they were basically not talking about those issues because they weren't concerned about Base Gamer dying. And the fact that Base Gamer got like $60,000 to build a website, and then that website died within 6 months. It didn't survive.
Wait, who's Base Gamer?
It's Jenny Bargera's website. She's like a personality from Canada, and a lot of people didn't realize, she was like, so around Gamergate, she asked us to donate money to her little website. A lot of people, there was like a lot of open criticisms about this website, that it doesn't cost that much to build the website, which is true, because the average, web developer can do it for less than that. And she was asking for $60,000 for it. And lo and behold, she used that money to spend it on trips to E3, and also to other places like PAX South, PAX West, and also PAX Australia, which it's a lot of money to spend just to go to those places to get a lot of coverage. And all I ever saw from her videos was just like it she didn't have that many interviews, she didn't have that many a lot of content to generate over the past several months, because it was slow. It was a slow process, especially for video editing, because I knew a guy that did this in one day. And it's like it takes like about a few minutes just to make an intro, and then you edit it, and then you put in some stuff, and then you just add some stuff. And it was kind of weird that this happened. Because it was like...
So she made a website asking for donations. That's what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah. It was a Kickstarter. Or an Indiegogo fund. It was an Indiegogo
2014.
fund. Yeah. And the thing was, Base Gamer was a good idea at the time. But there was a lot of criticisms, and a lot of those criticisms, they seemed reasonable. But the problem was, people were not so sure to trust her, because she did have a past with another website, and she didn't do really much work on that website for a few years. She claimed she was a game journalist, and a lot of the stuff was just not that much content that she was doing. She was just going to the conventions as is. She did make some interesting videos, but this is the thing that bothered me the most about this whole thing, is that they basically tried to make her out to be bad, and that's what caused her to be elevated. Was those people were doing stuff, and it's like, look, you could point out the actual issues, that she basically wanted us to donate money to her, because a lot of people have been asking for money from Gamergate, a lot.
Oh yes, I've seen that.
And a lot of them didn't really do much of anything with it.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? People think that it's not a great idea. And the mistakes that were made were basically things that should have never been happening, because a lot of this stuff, especially when you realize that the people who make these same words and the same accusations about Gamergate, you realize that they use the same old vocabulary words. After so many years, you realize that they use these words like sexism, racism, and also as a human being, when they use that as a sentence, like as a white cis male or as a cisgendered female or something like that, they always use those same words, and it's like nobody uses those words, and they expect everyone to use those words in a sentence.
Yeah, it's more like they're straw manning,
Not straw manning, but they want to use this. They want to reinforce this whole word called the imposter syndrome, which is what they're trying to do. Because that's the thing. Like, they don't want to be exposed as frauds. That's the thing that they don't want to admit, that they were always making mistakes or making the wrong thing happen. And that's the biggest problem when you see people, like, I looked up the definition of imposter syndrome when someone mentioned this in a research paper. And I was like looking up the definition of it, like imposter syndrome, known as the imposter phenomenon, imposterism, fraud syndrome, or the imposter experience, is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud.
So, what you're saying is like you have all these people saying that they're successful, that they have a degree in some study, you know, and they're worried that someone out there might expose them as imposter, as a fake, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're basically lying to a person. They're basically trying to bullshit them. And that's what the NPC meme kind of did too, like exposing that type of, you know, those type of people saying the same words over and over again, and showing that they were making these words to strawman people. And yes, they were trying to strawman people, but at the same time trying to bullshit people.
Right. I guess I'm gonna go, man.
Okay. It's fine, man. Thanks a lot, man. I'm gonna go ahead and close the show. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate that you guys are out there watching this. Even though you'll probably watch this tomorrow. Thanks a lot. I gotta go. Bye bye. Good night.
Right. Same.